You need one of those movie countdowns on the Skype screen, Steve.
Not me. I have my mic muted.
Okay, well, we're live, everybody. So let's just say 3, 2. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back for another week of CoCo TALK, the nation's leading live talk show about the color computer. It's probably the only live talk show about the color computer.
I was going to say.
And that's why we're leading. And we have another great panel of distinguished, notable guests. And I will start in reverse order this time. So from bottom right to top left, we have Richard Cavell. We have Grant Leedy. We have David Ladd. We have Mark Overholzer, Richard Lorbieski, Bruce Moore, and Jacob from Canada A, Barry Nelson, L. Curtis Boyle A, and good day, Nick Morentis. How are we, everybody?
Good.
I decided not to do an 18-minute introduction this week. And so we're all here. We're going to be talking CoCo, all things CoCo. And as each week goes, the things we talk about end up becoming fairly spontaneous, driven by both the people in the Skype call above me and the people in the chat and who knows what else. But there are a few things we do want to talk about today. And it's kind of a lame attempt at doing something I've been wanting to do for over a year now. But I've been wanting to do something like top 10 CoCo games, like the CoCo 1 and 2 games, top 10 games, and do a special on that. And then CoCo 3 games, top 10 games, do a special on that. And this take time and planning and effort, and that's just stuff I just haven't had. So rather than having a nice, fully polished, produced one, we'll just wing it, and we'll just talk about our favorite color computer games, because it did come up again this week in the Facebook group. I opened up the topic about a year ago. I opened it up again, saying this will make a good CoCo talk, and then somebody else brought it up. Matter of fact, let me see who that was. Let's just pull up the Facebook thread here real quick. So I got to remember how I switch screens. Hello. This is how I switch screens. So let me pull up Facebook. I have Facebook open somewhere on here. I got a couple of tabs open. Here we go. Oh, crap. Dude, this is what I hate about it. I had Facebook open to the exact post of where it was, and it has somehow just scrolled all the frick over the place here. How do you like those apples, huh? What was the topic here? Here we go. It was from Matt Reichert. I'm not sure how to pronounce Matt's name, but he posted the most recent post, and he says, "What would everyone say are the top must-have CoCo games for the CoCo 1, 2, and 3? I'm busy pulling games on disc, but there are a lot of them out there. I'm mostly interested in action arcade games, adventure games, and role-playing games." And so then people started chiming in here. We had Photon, King's Quest was listed. Chris Smith says, "I like Shock Trooper and Cashman and Sailorman and Downland and Gantlet and Dragonfire and Draconian and Rad Warrior." The list goes on and on. So I think I recently did Rad Warrior too. It's an interesting and just different type of game. That kind of carried on into an Apple II discussion about Rad Warrior. What else did we talk about on here? Okay. Thexter was mentioned. I'm surprised Thexter made the list of CoCo games. Okay. Thexter was mentioned. Richard Kelly says, what did he say? Gosh, I have to read all this crap now. See, again, if I was prepared, I'd have all this stuff distilled down into bullet points. Buzzard for the CoCo 2. What the heck is Buzzard?
Buzzard Bait, he's referring
to. Okay, Buzzard. Okay. And then Leisure Suit Larry.
It's the clone of Joust.
Okay.
And it's been released for distribution. So it is really available.
Dungeons of Daggereth made the list. No list of CoCo games would be complete without mentioning Dungeons of Daggereth. It is a great game, Dungeons of Daggereth. So that kind of carried on into a thread of Dungeons of Daggereth stuff. Gold Runner 2000, Travis Pope. Isn't he the author of that game? Or no, who is
Chet Simpson's the author.
Okay, who's Travis Pope? Is he a game author too? His name sounds familiar. I don't know why. There's so many names out there.
Not I recall, but that
okay.
Doesn't,
Time Bandit made the list. Canyon Climber made the list. Downland and Dragonfire made the list. Downland, Doubleback, and Sea Dragon by Hugo DeFort made the list. Anything by Sierra Online, that's usually a a good thing to agree with. Okay, and then we have Photon, King's Quest 4, Shanghai, Crystal City, Chronos Rift, Donkey Kong Remix, which also Barry's daughter mentioned she likes too, Arkanoid. The list go Popstar Pilot. There we go. Because yeah, we got to talk about new games too. We could talk about our favorite classic games, but there are so many new games. Junior's Revenge, Cave, Walker, Pegasus, and the Phantom Riders. Another one of Barry's daughters picked, which is a good game. Junior's Revenge.
I just wanted to mention, I actually have we actually have 2 real live, honest to goodness, game-playing expert teenagers that are listening into this call.
All right. There we go. I was one of those 40 years ago. Black Sanctum. That's one I don't think I ever played. Quest for Star-Lord. There's a thread going on around that. Gana Buana was brought up. And then, it just keeps going here. So, Sierra Games, then we got into a discussion on how much space do they take up. Here's a great list here. Cashman, Time Bandit, Shock Trooper, Pegasus, Canyon Climber, Sea Dragon, Marble Maze, Gauntlet, Puyan, Zaxxon, Ninja Attack, and Module Man. Great list there. So, the hits keep coming. I had posted this originally back in May of 2015, I think, a while ago, and I'd gotten a bunch of suggestions then. But rather than talk about the past now, we'll talk about the present. Since we got a bunch of people here, we'll just talk about it ourselves now. What were some of our favorite CoCo games? I have to remember what I have to click on here to get my screen back. What are our favorite CoCo games, and why are they our favorites? John T. Robbs is here. Evan Wright is here in the chat. Hello, everybody. Nicole is here. My friend's daughter is here. Hi, Nicole. How are you? And yeah, so of all the stuff I mentioned, let's just pick one. Everybody pick a game and say why you liked it so much.
Okay, Leanne?
Pegasus and the Phantom Rider. And why do you like Pegasus and the Phantom Rider so much, Leanne?
Because it's fun to play, and then I get to beat Dad with it.
There you go.
Curse those darn teenage reflexes.
You get to beat Dad with it. While you guys are talking about that, I will try to pull that game up so everybody else can see it too. Pegasus and the Phantom Rider was a great game. Kind of a joust type inspired game with horses, flying horses.
Mode has some pretty awesome color dithering and composite effects for artifact colors that it does too.
Yeah, I'm trying to get speaking of colors, trying to get mine toned down a little bit so I can bring it up. So it's a great flying around, beating up your opponent type game. Did that one support 2-player co-op? I don't remember.
2-player what?
Cooperative.
Yes,
or two players simultaneous. So let's put it that way.
Yeah, it supports 2-player cooperative and 2-player dual mode. And for the reason Leanne just mentioned, usually I want to play in 2-player cooperative mode. Otherwise, I get beaten up.
Yeah, and here's the game. Let me see if I can pull it up here. Okay.
Oh, you got the colors reversed. Are you on a CoCo 3?
I'm on a CoCo 3. There we go.
Yeah, there you go. Now you got the colors right.
There we go. And so here I am in the corner, and I'm this little horse here flying around. And you have to bounce off the tops of the people above you. I just hit one of those horses. Now, in the original game Joust, when you hit them, they dropped an egg. And in Pegasus, they drop like a tombstone, like a cross. And you have to also, I just had a tie with that guy. If the object is to be a little bit higher than your opponent when you strike them from above, and then that counts as a strike. If you're lower than them, then you are stricken. If you are exactly the same height, it's kind of a draw, and that just happened there. Yeah, it's a great game, and as Barry was mentioning, it does a great job of messing with the colors. It's kind of really blurry here, and it's hard to see. But you can see definitely 2 shades of blue, right? You see a light blue for the sky. You see a dark blue for the water. You can see what looks like orange sand down there. So these are taking all these artifact colors and kind of messing around with those artifact colors. So yeah, it's a great game. And so it did support 2 players at the same time, right? Where both of you could be fighting against the bad guys.
See, Steve.
Yes.
And then it also, I think this one also supported the speech sound pack too,
Yes,
so
it
you
did.
would hear some of the synthetic voice, which was kind of a cool feature, 40 years ago. Gets to be a little bit annoying now listening to that robotic voice, but it was anything that did a little something extra. It was always kind of exciting. And so, yeah, definitely a cool game. Pegasus and the Phantom Riders, definitely. This should make this was released by Spectral Associates, right, Curtis?
Well, it was programmed by Spectral. It was released by Tandy Radio Shack.
Okay, licensed. So Spectral licensed it to Tandy. Right, and Curtis, for anyone who doesn't know, and if you don't know this, shame on you, but Curtis Boyle runs the Color Computer Games List website, which has got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of color computer games in here. As a matter of fact, let me just do that real quick too. I will switch over.
And hundreds I haven't got up there yet.
I know. That's the thing. When I started doing color computer game videos, I thought I'd do 100 videos. I'm coming up to 200, and I haven't scratched the surface of them. So here's Curtis's site. So if I switch over to letter P, by the way, I made Curtis's site Cocoa Green because it was a little too white for me. And okay, P, Phantom Slayer, P, Pegasus. Where is P? I can't read. Pac-Man, Panzer. Why can I not find Pegasus and the Phantom Riders?
Don't tell me it's not there. Oh my gosh.
There it is. I found it.
It's
okay.
there.
So here's Curtis's website, right? And so Curtis is also showing you some screenshots of the game, and you can see here one of the things I did like about Pegasus and the Phantom Rider. Not only it's based on Joust, which is a fun game by itself, but Joust had a fairly fixed playing field, and we saw the same arrangements kind of over and over again. What Pegasus and the Phantom Rider did for us was kind of give us this scenery, and it was kind of almost telling a story at some point in time, because it looked like you were getting closer and closer to the motherland of where these big mean flying horses were coming from. And so I don't know if you ever made it to the actual island. David Ladd, you've probably gotten the furthest in this game out of all of us so far. Do you ever make it to the island, or is just seeing the island that close about as far close as you get to it?
You get up into the actual cove of the island and you fight them. It's basically a bonus stage where you keep fighting them, and then after you finish that, then you start basically over again. It's just a continuous loop.
So it loops. So the picture that Curtis has right now, picture number 4, we'll call it, that's not the actual cove, or does it get closer than that, or is that the cove itself there?
I think it gets closer, doesn't it, Curtis? It's been like
I
several
can't remember.
months since I played.
I think that is the
end was
cove one.
The end got to the bonus wave on one of her attempts not too long ago. So if we can get the picture up on the Skype screen here, I can tell you.
It's up.
Yeah, it's up.
I'm not seeing it. Hold on. It looks like I've got... Oh, no. Looks like I've got a picture of... It looks like Nick on the screen.
Oh, you might have to click on Steve.
You might have to click on
picture.
me, because
this
one is green. Look for the green one. But anyways, yeah, it's a fun game. So the author of this game was David Fig. Is that how we pronounce this, Curtis? Fig or Figgy?
I think so. I've never got a hold of David, so I don't know how to pronounce his name.
And because the game was produced by Spectral Associates, there are some recycled sound effects in this game that existed on other games too. So if I'm not mistaken, it might use the same sound effects that some of Lancer used when you hit a bad guy in Lancer, which was their other Joust clone, which was a good one too.
Yeah.
Have you tried Buzzard Bait?
I have in the past. Would you want me to pull it up, Nick?
Yeah, as a comparison, I guess.
Okay.
And Lancer too, I guess.
I guess if we're talking Pegasus and the Phantom Rider, we might as well
cover the rest of the Joust clones.
Do all of that. Yeah, we'll show all the Joust clones.
Actually, does my clone page have all 3 of those listed for you?
It probably does. All right, so
we will pictures side by side.
And by the way, so I'm using the CoCo SDC Explorer here as I pull all these things up on my CoCo. So we'll type in BU and that got me straight down to Buzzard, like that. I like that. Plug. Shift M to mount, right arrow, enter to execute. And what do we have here? Drum roll, please. Okay, hold down the F1 key, hit reset till the screen is a lovely shade of orange. And we have buzzard bait created by the rugby circle. What can you... Oh, crap. It's not freaking... Is it F1? You hold down and then press reset? Isn't it F1, Curtis?
Yeah, it should be.
Yeah, you have to hold down the F1 key while you're... Yeah.
Yeah, you
have to hold down the F1 key while you press the reset.
I did that, damn it. Damn computers don't know what the hell they're doing. I know what I'm doing. I know what I meant to do. Here we go. So this is buzzard bait. Buzzard bait. Now this is not. This is Tom Mix Software released this one, and this was created by the Rugby Circle. Now is the Rugby Circle like an actual software team or group of people? I
Yes.
recognize the name on a few titles.
They did some Tier City Model 1 and 3 games, and then they also did like Death Trap on the CoCo, and they did this one. And
see, these ones show you the eggs, and so this is a little bit truer to in joust form because you actually have the lance that you're carrying. And I just got killed. As I'm looking at my guy, he almost looks like he's riding a dove. I look like I'm riding a swan or something. But what were the things supposed to be in the arcade? The bad guys were what, like ostriches or something? Because they had those long legs. I don't even know what the heck they were in the arcade in Joust. But this is Buzzard Bait, another great game of, another great clone of Joust. And this one was very good visually, and the characters were nice and large. It was a little bit herky-jerky in the flapping of it, and the one thing I did like about Lancer is it was a little bit smooth gliding. When you,
the flight mechanics I liked in Lancer better too.
Yeah.
Though a lot of people prefer the speed that you get out of Buzzard Bait.
Yeah.
It's faster.
So that's another great Joust one. And so we'll just switch over again, and we'll pull up Lancer now. But since we're on the Joust kick right now, we're going to go to Color Computer 2 Games, sorting directory. I'll do LA for Lancer. This is actually fairly quick and easy to be able to do this. All right, Lancer bin. Okay, I have to hold down F1, press the reset button. See, it's not freaking doing it, man. I'm holding down F1. I swear to you,
I'm the reset cycle. Huh.
I'm holding it down, man. I'm holding down F1. There we go.
Are you on a CoCo 3 or a CoCo 1 or 2?
I'm on a CoCo 3 right now.
You on a CoCo 3 or a 1 or 2?
I'm on a 3.
There are no F1 on a CoCo 1.
That's true. Yeah, you got me. Yeah.
Okay. Now which joystick do I
did see
need?
one once that had one because somebody switched the keyboard up. But yeah, other than that.
All right, who's like unloading their groceries in the house right now? Here, a bunch of things falling around and rustle and bustle. This one, the characters are smaller, but the enemy riders look pretty cool. Enemy riders look kind of pretty wicked, actually. So you're smaller. These sound effects are similar to the sound effects but they're not exactly the same as I'm hearing it. They're similar, but whoop, that egg pickup sound is pretty similar.
We can't hear the sound. Maybe you need to share the audio.
Oh, there we go. Share system sound. There we go.
Yeah, there we hear it.
Now you hear it. So the sounds of these guys bouncing off of each other is similar to Pegasus. That sound there is a little similar when you pick up the egg. That's similar. They're similar sounds. I have a feeling, and I don't know. You guys who make games would know better, but when you write a routine to make a sound, is that kind of like an asset? Like nowadays, the sounds would all be like digital wave files, and you would just reuse wave files. But back then, when you made sound, it was still kind of written in code, right?
Back then, yeah.
So if you wanted to reshare sound effects between games, you just had to reshare that section of code?
Yep, you literally could. Nowadays in the CoCo 3 games, we are using digitized sound effects equivalent of WAV files like Nick and others have done.
Right.
Now, Steve, you wanted to see the Cove. I put a link to a video I did for... it was one of my crappy live streams, but I put a link to it and the time offset. So you can go straight to it to see the Cove or the bonus wave.
Okay, let me just say hi to some people in chat who I couldn't see before because I was full screen with my game. So we have Alexander Wallace here. Hello, Alexander. He says, I'm late but without sleep deprivation. Glenn Hewlett says, hi to all. Hello, Glenn, Mr. Pac-Man. Feel free to join us on Skype if you'd like. And Michael Brandt says, I have an F1, an F2, an F3, and an F4 on one of my CoCo ones. You sure got a lot of Fs there. And Fedor is here. Fedor, how are you? In vivid video. How are you?
I'm okay. I'm okay.
Yeah, all right, I didn't even see you before because I had the game in full screen. So we're talking our favorite CoCo games. Right now we're on the topic of Pegasus and the Phantom Rider, and we kind of got into the whole Joust thing. So where did you put that link, David, with your thing? Did you put it in Skype chat?
Skype chat.
All right, let me see if I can find that. And so David is mentioning that he got to it. And a time offset 36 minutes and 32 seconds. Yeah, luckily, luckily you spared us that much time, right? So
Thanks a lot, Steve.
36 minutes and 32 seconds. Where the hell did it go?
So Susan. Go, Susan.
Where did it go?
CoCo game is Donkey Kong Remix.
Donkey Kong Remix. We'll get to that. Why is it not coming up? YouTube.com, edit. My info. This is weird. It's not taking me to your video, Drencor. I'm clicking on it and it's taking me to my freaking videos. I don't know why.
Oh, sorry. Let me try the stupid thing.
Give me a different link, jackass.
Oh, it's because it gave me the link which is for me to edit my video. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. There we go.
I'm gonna have to drop off of here. I may be dropping back on later.
All right.
But you guys have a good time.
Here we go.
Thank you.
Okay. We'll see you later, Barry.
So I'm going to Susan's favorite game at some point, Donkey Kong Remix.
Donkey Kong Remix.
Awesome game, and you guys have a good time later.
And beat
that sounds good.
58,900.
All right. So you're at 36 minutes, you said, Drencor?
Yes.
All right. 30 minutes, 31 minutes, 33 minutes.
36, 32.
Hut. 35 minutes. Here we go. Oh, wow. Look at that. There's a waterfall. I've never seen that. That's called the Lagoon.
Now I remember it. Actually, I'd forgotten about that one.
I have never seen that level before. And this is the version that's patched for the CoCo 3, right? Because it's very clean.
Yes.
Yeah, and you notice the artifact colors aren't quite as good as the...
right, but they're good. They're pretty good for this being RGB. So this is the Lagoon phase. And what happens here besides fighting bad guys? Is there like a boss?
Not that I remember. You just keep fighting them and avoid the water creature at the bottom.
He looks like he's throwing mushrooms at you or something. I don't know what the heck he's doing.
Flame-throwing plesiosaur.
Yeah, flame-throwing plesiosaur. There we have it.
Yes, but I spent way too much time playing this.
Well, yeah, if it took you 40 minutes to get there. I mean,
I made it to this level before myself, but that was back in my youth. I don't think I've made it the last 10, 15 years. I'd forgotten about it until I saw it.
We thank you, David, for the sacrifice.
Yeah. Well, now that's just inspiration now. Now I got to get it just because frickin' David Ladd did.
Hey.
Good, and then it loops over. David,
you set a high bar.
You did. Yes, you did. So, cool stuff. So, yeah, that is definitely one for the books. Pegasus and the Phantom Riders is one for the books for sure. What else do we see here in the chat? There was third-party keyboards. Okay, we're talking about the F1 keys. Michael Brandt says, I think I got that CoCo from Brian a while ago. Yeah, we got Michael Brandt and I now have lots of Brian Blank good stuff in our collection now. So Pegasus and the Phantom Rider and Joust games. Donkey Kong Remix was mentioned. Should I go ahead and pull that one up? Because that is definitely a modern classic.
Yeah. And darn hard.
John Linville is calling. Let's add John Linville to the group call.
Call fail.
There we go.
There's a John. I see a John.
Oops. John Linville, are you here?
Welcome, John.
All right. So we'll switch over to the CoCo 3, and we will try Donkey Kong Remix. And maybe we'll get Curtis Boyle to talk this one up as I queue it up, because it's going to take me a minute to get it loaded.
Okay, well, it's another Sockmaster production. After he did the original Donkey Kong port, he decided to actually make an original version of it with a bunch of new levels and new challenges, etc., based on the same emulator hardware. He's actually ported this to the real hardware, so you can actually get the upgrade for the arcade machine itself. In fact, he's gone further than that. He's now done a Donkey Kong Jr. remix on the actual arcade hardware. So it requires 512K. It emulates the Z80/Z80, depending on where you're from, as well as the sprite chips and everything else, and has digitized samples for the sound. Requires 512K, as I mentioned a little bit before. It kicks in native mode if you have a 639 to give it a little bit smoother sound and smoother graphics. And I don't know how much more I could add to it. Okay. It's a darn hard game, though. I mean, he's made really, really challenging levels.
And it's firing up. Donkey Kong Remixed has just fired up. Now, I've seen the video for Donkey Kong Jr. Remix. I think it was last weekend, we were in a Skype call with Scott Sockmaster watching his YouTube video on this. Now, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to, I guess, got to find the correct joystick here. So we're going to go ahead and say number of lives. We're going to give ourselves maximum lives here. Now, order is Remix A, Classic. I guess Remix A, is that the way we should go?
Sure. I don't remember which one's which.
I don't remember. So Classic would go in the normal order. I guess Remix A is that one. And then we're going to start game. And this game was impressive as heck, and it still is. So, I mean, so what happened is, Sockmaster first ported the original Donkey Kong to the Color Computer 3. And that was no small feat. And then he went back and basically tweaked the game. So this is a remixed, reimagined version of the game with changing the levels and the physics and the gameplay and stuff. Why am I still here? The last time I played this, it started off on the weird split screen.
It might be one of the other remix levels, then maybe. I'm not sure. I can't remember which one's which.
Yeah. But yeah, the fact that this is not only the same literal Donkey Kong game, but it is a new and improved version of Donkey Kong. It's freaking hard, Mr. Bigglesworth. Yes. All right.
I think John's the only one who's actually mastered it.
Yeah. To him, it's easy. Yeah, just like.
Well, I've seen there's been some review YouTubers that actually review actual physical arcade games on the actual hardware, and they've gotten these upgrade boards, and they get stuck on a lot of these levels too. So it's not just us. Right.
But yeah, so Donkey Kong Remix, if I can make it to one of the remix screens, it's incredibly impressive. I'm getting hit in the head here now. But Donkey Kong Jr. Remix, I watched that video. My God, was I blown away by that. There's just so much more going on there. With the number of levels, the improved sound, the speed of it. It is just like, it is, it's a shame that Nintendo could never do anything like this. I'm just blowing hard on this one here, right? Which is nothing. I think I chose the wrong option, though. I almost think I need to start over, because there was another option where you started off on that first board that was split and the barrels were coming from both sides and falling through the middle and everything. And I think I screwed up and chose the wrong one. And I can't even get off of round one here, which is, Okay, come here. Damn it. Get up there, jackass. All right, here we go. Let's go. Boom, 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 boom.
Nintendo.
Hey!
Nintendo did do this.
Well, they haven't done like a good update to Donkey Kong, I should say. No, this is not the right. This is not the right order. All right, this is definitely not the right order of that. I don't know what I did wrong there on Donkey Kong Remix. I could have sworn I chose Remix A. I'll try Remix B. I don't know.
Right, there actually was a Donkey Kong 2 and a 3 before they went to all the 3D Donkey Kongs.
Okay, so this is the thing. It is just a disc. It's not a directory. All right, we're going to try this one more time. See if I can not screw this up. While we're on the subject of Donkey Kong, I don't think any list of CoCo games would be complete without mentioning Donkey King. Donkey King, if there is a top 10, Donkey King should definitely be in it. Do we all agree on that?
I would.
Donkey King, written for the Color Computer 1 and 2, requiring 32K. It was incredible feat of software for the time. And we have John here, John Linville. I don't know if he's here. He looks like he's here. I don't think any new CoCo game discussion should forget Farfall, because Farfall is definitely a very fun and an addictive game as well. Okay, see, this says Remix A, Level Order Classic, Remix B, difficulty normal, difficulty easy. So I'll try Remix B this time. Let's see. Now that screen looks the same, but let's see when we start the game. John, are you there? John Linville? We see his face.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I just heard you there.
Here it is. Here's the remix screen. So it's Remix Order B. Okay. So this is a Donkey Kong remixed screen. And they've completely changed the way the levels work. Changed the physics. You don't know which way the stinking barrels are going to fall. Oh, crap. I fell in the hole. And there's a reason why I don't have a YouTube video of me playing Donkey Kong Remix yet. And it's because I've never made it past this screen.
It takes a while. You have to almost run to the edge of that girder to jump across to the second one.
Yeah, I have the hardware for my Donkey Kong machine for that.
That's pretty cool.
Definitely a nice upgrade.
Have you got the one for the Donkey Kong Jr. remix too, John? Or
no, I haven't bought it, partly because my Donkey Kong Jr. board isn't working. So.
Oh, okay.
I need to
that sounds like a legitimate excuse. So.
Sounds like a reason to get it fixed.
Yeah, because he's added a lot of levels. I think he's got like 16 or 17 levels. He's got bonus rounds, all kinds of stuff in that one.
Oh, crap. Dude, I can't climb up the ladders. These Tandy Deluxe joysticks. All right, I've never made it this high before. Oh, my God. Sweet Lord. All right, I have never made it past this freaking part of the board right now on Donkey Kong Jr. Remix. This is history in the making here right now. Wow. So
finally,
I don't know
if this we're playing.
I don't know what comes after this. Okay, it took us
more often.
It took us straight to the elevators.
This is a different elevator, though.
It's a different elevators, yes, because I can't jump up that high.
Plus, you're starting over on the right, not on the left.
Yeah, I can't jump up that high. Wow. You got to go the other way. Almost seems like you got to go backwards before you can go forwards. The elevators are moving slower. Yeah, this would be interesting to see this on real hardware. I can't believe I made that jump there. I hardly ever make that jump. Oh, crap. I just got a face full of frickin' jackaxe there. So, jumping jacks, whatever those things are called. Very cool. All right. We will switch back to the Skype call. Now, that's cool. That was definitely worth showing. Donkey Kong Jr. Remix, as requested by one of Barry Nelson's daughters. I don't remember which one it was. I don't know if she's still in the call. We had a couple different requests. So Pegasus and the Phantom Rider was one of them, and Donkey Kong Remix was another one.
Request. This is Bruce.
Hey, Bruce. How you doing?
Hey, guys. Good. I had a real spooky experience with Phantom Slayer when I was a kid at Christmas time.
You know what's funny is Curtis talks very highly about that game too, and I had never played it before, and I think the first time I played it was during a live stream, and Curtis was with me, but Curtis is watching it, like on a 10-second delay, so he's trying to help me in a non-timely manner, and that was my first experience playing it like about a year ago. But yeah, he's told the story about Curtis, you tell the story, I'll screw it up.
Actually, I'll just put the post in here and you can actually read it off. It's too embarrassing for me to do it in person all the time. So
okay. And I'll try to read it in my best Canadian accent,
Yeah.
I was down in my basement,
I just posted the link in Skype, and if you go to the very bottom of that page, I've got the story of that.
All right. Nick, what voice do you recommend I use?
Oh, Lord.
Canadian Schwarzenegger.
Here, I'll pull this up.
I'll be back, eh?
Pee Wee Herman.
PB Herman. Now I will throw my voice out if I do that. All right. So here's Curtis's article here. So this is Ken Kalish, the guy who made the game, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. And so this is your interview with Ken. Where do I get to the part where we have your embarrassing story, Curtis?
The very end.
The very end.
Is my little story.
Okay. These are pictures. So here's a picture of the Phantoms themselves. Okay. The very, very end. Okay. Is it the bottom part here?
Yep.
Okay. So this is Curtis's little story about Phantom Slayer. Okay. And speaking of both Phantom Slayer and Knocked Out, I have a rather embarrassing story about playing that game. This would have been in late 1982 or early 1983. I was playing it downstairs in my parents' house. My CoCo was hooked up to a huge old floor model TV. And I had the volume cranked. I also had the room pitch black to help set the mood. I was having the best game I have had ever done, and the score ended up being about 1852, and had been playing for several hours. I had a pattern of long hallways, and Phantoms had fallen into rhythm of always coming in the same spot, so even though they were taking extremely large numbers of hits, I could still get them by running circle patterns. At this exact time, the Phantoms suddenly quit coming out of their normal spot. I tried running all over the place in my normal circular hallway pattern, trying to coax them out, but nothing worked. So I entered a corridor that I normally had not normally gone down, and just as the door to the rumpus room opened, with my dad and Dwayne, a Phantom killed me after being into the game for so long, and with that terrible death sound you put in the game, I literally fell off my chair onto the floor from complete fright. It scared you off of your chair.
Yes,
and
literally.
this prompted Dwayne to laugh and my dad to promptly ask, "What the hell's wrong with you?" That sounds like a dad question right there. Son, boy, you's about as sharp as a bowling ball right there, right? So for a while I thought it was just me, but at work here before the CoCo 3 that ran several. Okay, that's not Phantom, or is it still? Is that more
No,
Phantom?
it's Phantom Slayer related too.
Okay,
so there was a modern gamer who plays like Doom and stuff, saying there's no way Nate
okay,
could scare me.
All right, okay. So you're basically saying the game scared you so much it knocked you out of your chair, and then for a while you thought it was just me. But at work here, one of the younger programmers named Jason, who's very much into Quake and Doom style games, claimed that there was no way that a game on a machine as primitive as the CoCo could ever scare him after being used to 3D sound, etc. He played the training mode for a few moments to get used to it and then started a real game, at which time Dwayne and I turned up the volume. He literally jumped when he died a minute or two later. Yes, yeah, that's cool. I had a similar experience playing Dungeons of Daggorath too. So we'll go ahead and we'll fire up Phantom Slayer, and I'll need you guys as my co-pilot because I'm still not that familiar with the game. Like I said, I played it one time in a live stream with Curtis via delay. Now this one
cover that, Bruce, since I already talked a lot about my stupid experience with it. You can be the co-pilot.
Sorry, what was that?
I said you can be the co-pilot because I already talked about my experience with it. But I'll let you co-pilot it for Steve. Sure. I don't think he remembers how the proximity detector works. So.
Oh well, then he's dead.
And this one, I'll try to play on a CoCo 3.
That's encouraging.
Now the colors might be a little bit off because it's on a CoCo 3.
Yeah, you'd have to do an RGB command first or switch to composite mode.
Whatever. This is not bad. Or is it? It's actually kind of cool seeing the Phantoms in gray. Alright, so what do I do here? Select maze?
Choose one. Yeah, two's too hard.
Yeah.
Choose speed?
Well, how quick do you want to die?
Oh, yeah, exactly.
I want to die slowly.
One.
Okay.
I think T, there's no Phantoms.
Right.
I think.
It's just to get used to
the maze. So this is
that.
That's the layout of the. Okay, it's memorized. It's good.
Turn right, turn left, go to the end, and then turn left again. Try and get to the top.
Okay, so I'm navigating a 3D maze right now.
Yeah. Left, yeah. Oh, no, not you're dead.
I hear the sound.
The default proximity. Oh,
I got.
You're gone.
What's the fire button? Is it spacebar?
Spacebar.
Can I shoot when there's nobody around?
Yes, you can.
Do I run out of ammo?
No.
So if I just want to do a practice, if I just want to do a practice shot,
you have a pause between shots, as Bruce just mentioned.
Oh, there's like a cooldown period.
Yeah.
Actually, if you hold down the space bar, you'll see your sight flash, and when you let go, it fires a shot.
Okay. Now there's no TA for turn around.
Nope. Left twice, right twice. You can run backwards though.
Okay. So now the only indication you have is I got him. Okay.
Yeah, you
so
have a proximity detector, which I'll let Bruce explain.
Yeah. How many squares away it'll start beeping? That's number keys 1 to 6. I think, and I set mine to 5 usually, so I get a good enough warning.
So if I press number 5, it's now going to beep when they're within 5 tiles away from me?
Yeah. Even if they're on the other side of a wall, yeah.
Okay. So I just pressed 5. Yeah, the colors look a little bit off, but they're not bad, actually. These actually look better than... I don't know where I'm going. I'm just going through a maze right now. What is the object? To clear the maze? Can you pull up the map on demand here and see the overhead?
Only if you get the green square, and you can do it once. It'll teleport you back to the middle, and you get to see the maze, including where the phantoms are, and there's never more than 3 in the maze at a time.
Okay, I hear buzzing. Coming. I hear them. Can you guys hear the sound?
Oh, yeah. Run, Steve.
Run, Forrest, run! They're coming
from behind. Well, or they could be up here, too.
I'm going to turn down a side. What happened? I just got shot in the back?
He's above you. He's right behind you.
From the side.
Okay, yeah, there was my map.
He was following you around there.
He was following me.
Yeah, when you ran down the hallway there, and he's coming back for you. So the green square, you see it on the top left there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I find that, that'll give me like a omnipotent view of the map.
Yeah.
And it'll also teleport you back to the middle, so you actually can get out of trouble. You get charged when you run over it, and then you hit, I think it's the enter key to enact it, which means you can save it from when you're trapped, and then you can hit it and zap out temporarily.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
And at the beginning of the game, the phantoms will take 1 to 3 hits to kill, and then as you get further and further, they take more and more. And I know that one game that I mentioned when I fell off the chair there, I think I was up to 40 in some cases.
All right, I'll try it one more time. It's cool. It's cool. I think this would definitely, and I guess the maze gets randomized each time.
Yes.
Huh?
You should try level 2 mazes. You want to see a complicated one.
I hear him. I turned up the volume just 1 notch. I don't know if this can help you guys. I think part of the experience of this, and so for me, I didn't die, sucker. He got me. I couldn't fire fast enough, huh? I used to have this experience playing like Doom 2, but again, that was a 90s game, but I used to play Doom 2 like in the dark with the stereo speakers. Let's try level 2 maze and see. You can definitely get immersed in a game, and Curtis definitely gave his version of that story.
Set your proximity detector, Steve.
To 5, like?
And then run like hell.
Run to the hills. All right. Die, you mutant scum. I got him.
Keep moving.
What are the phantoms?
They're phantoms.
Bad guys.
Oh, I know they're the bad guys, but is there a story to it, explaining what they are or what their purpose is?
Well, you're going through space, and then there's this maze. Oh,
you're going through space. No, you're talking about Temple of Rome.
Space games are in.
Yeah.
Oh, crap. There was 2 of them right there. No fair. 2 phantoms. I'm calling hacks on that. That's level 2. So level 2 is a harder game. That's cool.
Well, level 2, actually, I don't know if you selected that properly, because level 2 gives you a maze that's so many twists and turns and really short hallways. And level 3 speed is really fast. They come after you. You can only get 1 or 2 shots off.
Well, they definitely did seem to move a little faster. Yeah, I think that game definitely I could see experiencing those emotions. But for me, I think if there was a CoCo game that did that, it was definitely Dungeons of Daggerath. Definitely got you, intensely invested. The thing about Dungeons of Daggerath, not only is it the style of game and what you're dealing with, but the heartbeat of that game.
Yeah.
I don't ever remember another game like that you had that indicator of your health, and you were somehow subconsciously linked to that, where your adrenaline was really tied into the game too, and And you talk about, you can look at it now and say it's primitive, but it was a pretty intense game. It was kind of a really cool idea because you could hear things before you could see them, so you had a sense of the realism of where you were in this three-dimensional world. You could hear things moving around. Unfortunately, we didn't have stereo back then, so it would be really cool if they were stereo panned, where you could hear them either to the left or to the right, some positional audio. But the fact you could hear the volume, where you knew how far away they were, you could hear things coming and you could see them coming at a distance. There was definitely a sense of fear, I think, as a kid playing that game, and that there's definitely, we'll just say, intensity to that game. If we had to create a top 10, I would say Dungeons of Daggerath definitely is in the top 3 color computer 1 and 2 games. It would have to be of classic games. Now it's hard because there's current modern games too, so it's you have to get a little bit more specific now in the scope of what you want to talk about. But everyone's favorite is relative. It's such a relative term. What's your favorite color computer game? My favorite game isn't going to be some people will probably and there's different genres. Like, what was that game, Gamuku Reguki or whatever the hell it was called? It was I don't even know what it was, but I never got into like card games or board games or strategy games on the CoCo. I would much rather play a shoot 'em up, a beat 'em up, an action. That was just what I was interested in.
One thing I should mention about Daggerath too is that it's actually one of the few games that got ported from the CoCo to the PC afterwards.
Yeah.
It was popular enough that they ported it to the PC.
Not only the PC, but it's on Android now too.
Yeah.
Somebody ported it. And you want to talk about just taking the challenge and the frustration to another level. It's hard enough typing AL and M space R and M space B on a real keyboard. Now try doing it on a freaking touchscreen keyboard. It's like, forget it. That's the definition of insanity right there, playing Daggerath on a virtual keyboard.
Does it work with the microphone so you can just say out loud? Yeah.
Siri, get me the hell out of here.
Siri, move.
Hey, this is Bruce here. If I could just make one more little plug about Phantom Slayer, though.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's I think why I like that game so much is because of the particular experience. I had a very similar one to Curtis there. It was Christmas time. I was at my friend Glenn's house, and his parents were out, and it was dark, and then he left the room to go to the bathroom, and he was gone for 5-10 minutes, and I'm there, and the volume's cranked, and sure enough, I think it's the fact you turn the corner and it's too late, and that great big gets I went through the roof. I went through the roof, and it's like, I love this game.
Yeah, I think Ken Kalish was the master of sound. Every single one of his games just had really unique and interesting sounds, and Ken Kalish sounds were very much like his own signature, like Picasso painting. You could just tell the style of the art by the artist. His sounds were so distinctive and so.
And he designed them that way. If you read the interview, he actually gets into this philosophy over the sound. He designed those sounds specifically. As he said, the one in Phantom Slayer, he wanted to hit your reptilian brain, is how he put it.
Reptilian brain. I love that term there. Yeah.
Curtis, I found that probably 10 years ago or so, I found your interview, and before I'd gotten back into the community, and I was so pleased to read that. My favorite, most impacting game and to read from the authors. Is Ken still around? Is anybody in touch with him?
I haven't talked to him since. I talked to him a little bit after the interview. He's not into computer as much. He was doing sort of volunteer programming work now for charities and stuff, last I'd heard, but I haven't talked to him in a while.
Okay. Cool.
But I think it's also one of the very first real-time 3D shooters on any platform.
Yeah.
Because it came out in the summer of '82.
Okay.
I think Daggerath is copyrighted '82, but I don't think it was released until the end of the year, or maybe even early '83, if I remember.
Okay. Now we have in chat, Glenn Hewlett mentioned he got a sealed copy of Dungeons of Daggerath at the last CoCo Fest. I got a couple last year as well, too. I actually got 2 of them. Last year, when I went for my first time, I was picking up stuff for all kinds of people. So, I was picking up stuff for Michael Brandt, who I had not met yet, and I was picking up stuff for Vince Tran. And so I saw these. I thought somebody might want one, and I went ahead and grabbed both of them. And it turns out I thought Vince might want one because Vince was having me look for certain cartridges. And it turns out he didn't want it. So I've got 2 Daggeraths sealed in the plastic, and I'm not complaining about that at all. They're nice things to have, Okay, Fedor's saying I got to go. Yeah, what time is it for you, Fedor, in Denmark? He's 5 hours ahead. Yeah. So for Fedor right now, it's almost midnight.
It's almost midnight. 1 a.m.
That's right. 1 a.m. because you don't have the daylight savings crap we have.
Yeah. Well, yeah, actually we do.
Oh, okay.
But it's almost 1 a.m. I think.
And Fedor, right. I know you said you've got not a specific game, but do you have a couple that you can mention that you?
Oh, I couldn't decide. There's so many games. There's one game that has a very special place in my heart, but it's a crappy game.
What is it?
But it's the first game that I bought for my CoCo, and it was I can still remember it. It's Pengon.
Penguin. I've been trying to do that video for you, and I can't find a clean copy without distortion. Whenever I can find that, I'm going to make that for you, Fedor.
Okay. Yeah, I can send you. I think my copy is the copy I have is pretty clean.
Because the copy I have, the characters start to distort as they're moving. The animation tiles are like broken up into pixels. It just looks crappy.
I think I even.
No, that's actually a very fun game.
Yeah, maybe I even have the cassettes, original cassettes.
Yeah.
Like covered over here.
That's basically a clone
of CoCo stuff here.
I was going to get it. Yeah, it's a clone of a Sega arcade game that was called Pengo. And I actually, because what I did is I pulled up on MAME, I pulled up the original arcade game too, because I didn't realize what some of the game mechanics are. I guess there's these things that are like diamonds. You can grab diamonds. No, I'm hearing myself now. He must have unplugged his headphones.
Now I can hear you.
Yeah, you can hear me, and I can hear myself twice now.
Oh, shit, sorry.
I don't know what's going on. It's all good. Yeah.
If we give him a break.
It's 1 a.m. It's 1 a.m. Give the man a break. If we can find a clean copy of that, I definitely want to record that video for Fedor. He requested that a while ago, and I've been trying to get that going.
It'd be nice to do a Pengo clone because there was a few others like Ice Master and
is there?
Warehouse Mutants and a few others that are clones as well.
Okay, I smell a showcase in our future, Curtis.
Okay.
Now that you got now that you got a microphone that's not all bassy.
What's wrong with bass?
He's all about that bass. About that bass. No trouble. Yeah, we could go on for hours about. So I'll tell you what my first CoCo game was that I actually owned. It was Caterpillar Attack by Tom Mix Software. I don't remember exactly who gave it to me, but somebody gave me a cassette copy of that game. So when I bought my first CoCo, which only had a cassette player, that was my first piece of software. I didn't have a cartridge. I didn't have a floppy for at least a year. So I was playing a cassette game. I think I purchased things like Pyramid and a few of the Text Adventures on tape. And honestly, that was also one of the motivational factors for me to get a color computer was the Text Adventures, because around the same time I was playing Dungeons and Dragons with my friends, and that was a game where you used your imagination. There was you just thought about where you were, you imagined where you were. So I looked at those Text Adventures as kind of like a single player role-playing game in a sense, because with Dungeons and Dragons you needed a handful of friends to play, and so this was a way to kind of play offline solo. So it was kind of like the Text Adventures and a few other things like that kind of prompted me to want to get a computer instead of like a game console, for example. And my first actual game I owned, I'm pretty sure, was Caterpillar Attack.
I remember the first two I had. They were Radio Shack cartridges. I mean, other than typing in ones from the book. Actually, the Blackjack game in the original Color Basic Manual actually wasn't bad for a 4K game. But the first two I ever owned was Project Nebula and Skiing.
Great game, and Project Nebula.
I still like those to this day. They're both pretty good, especially for the time period.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Anything that looked and reminded me of Star Wars was definitely good in my book. The fact that the spaceships looked like TIE fighters was a plus, I think I remember having a setup too. So I had like this little dresser thing where the door would come down and it was like a tray, and I had my TV inside the dresser. I had my CoCo in there, so I made this makeshift cockpit. So like I'm sitting in a cockpit, and I have my two joysticks on the side of the screen, and I also had this toy spaceship where you moved it around and like it made sound as you moved it around, and it kind of like sounded like the opening to Van Halen's Eruption. If you know that, sound. So it was like this spaceship. So I would move that thing around and make sounds as I was pretending like I was moving faster and moving my joysticks and stuff. And I had this full geek cockpit I created to play that game. So I want to talk about falling out of a chair embarrassing. This is probably worse. But then your dad would come in and say, "What the hell am I doing too here with my?"
Well, that same chair when I was playing Project Nev, it was a big armrest chair. I actually taped the joysticks on either side, and it was a big cushy thing, so you'd lean back like the captain's chair on the Enterprise and have your 2 joysticks taped to the chair there so you could control your speed and flying around. So.
And when I was a kid, that was my virtual reality, damn it.
Exactly. I didn't even need a helmet.
I had a helmet, but it was for a completely different reason.
And I had a coat with no arms. But anyway.
That is something else.
Which you've seen if you've played Bedlam.
Right. Great game, too.
Actually, that's a good question for other guests, though. Like, we just rattled off the 2, the very first games we ever owned on the CoCo. I'm just wondering, what is everybody else's first one that you actually bought?
One of my games I bought was Double Back.
Ah, great game. Yep. I had that one, too. Yep. That's one of my favorite games. That actually is. The problem is you're trying to go back into 35 years of memories, But definitely, that would be one of my personal favorites. Fun game.
Yeah. How about Nick? What was the first CoCo game you ever owned?
Probably Puyan.
Puyan. I'm sorry. No, it's a good game, actually. I just suck at it. Okay, Fedor says favorite games, as he said. Okay, Pengon was his first game, but it's a bit crappy. I don't think it's crappy, though, Fedor. Next in line is Puyan and Invader's Revenge. Very cool.
Ken Callis classic.
Cool titles. Puyan's actually a really good game. It's a very good arcade game on the CoCo. I've tried playing it.
Versions to show the 2 color sets?
Yeah, let me do that. I'll switch over.
Look at the colors.
Let's do that. Let's go back to the CoCo 3. All right. John Linville says chess.
Which version?
Which chess? Okay, so we're gonna go to the Color Computer 2 version of Puyan first, and prepare to block your ears too. So it's a noisy one. Shift M to mount. Here's my Puyan bin. This CoCo Explorer. The colors look a little bit off on this one because it is a CoCo 3. All right, now I'm going to probably just do the keyboards. But this is this game used the P mode 3 mode with the white background and the what I could like to call eye vomit color palette, where you had like orange and purple and green and just colors that just weren't meant to go together in nature, and they all put them on the same screen here. And I just lost one dude.
Acid pastel is what I use.
Yeah, right. But ironically, for these not being the great collection of colors, this game did a good job of using them in a way. Like, for example, they're using white as the character color, and it works very well. I actually like this game a lot. I think this game does a heck of a fine job with sprites. Does a heck of a great job with the polyphonic music. This was a Datasoft game. Every game that came out of Datasoft was it was a AAA title, commercial quality, had every bell and whistle you could want, So there were certain companies where they had like that name brand recognition. You knew if they released it, it was going to not be basically crap in a box like some games you might get, We were limited to looking at a picture in a magazine and hoping that the game that we got lived up to what, and that picture was often a drawing. It wasn't a picture of the actual game.
What was the other version you had?
That's what I'm looking for. That
wasn't the original CoCo 2 color set.
No, well, I think it's because I'm playing it on a CoCo 3. I don't think I have the right SD card in here. I'll try it again. I have 2 different Puyans, and so there was another one I had that's called Puyan I in there, and I don't know what the heck that one. So when I go to PO,
because it's meant to have that ugly magenta background.
Something like that. But it is. I think some of these colors on the CoCo 3, because I'm not typing in composite. Oh, look at that.
I have a question on the CoCo SDC. Does it have a default for the monitor type? Because the CoCo 3 defaults to composite mode. And I'm wondering if because you're kicking right into it, it's just putting the opposite colors even if you're on RGB.
Because
just add RGB in the auto exec file.
Yeah, we'd have to do that. Anyways, I don't know how to get back to it. All right. Well, it's going to be too much work for me to try to find the other SD card that has the patch Color Computer 3 version on there. The Color Computer 3 version definitely looks a heck of a lot better. I just don't know where that SD card is right now. I'd have to hunt for it. I have another CoCo SDC somewhere, but my room is in a state of rebooting and stuff right now. It was a good game, though, definitely. Richard says it sounds like the ice cream truck is coming down the street. Glenn Hewlett says my first games were cartridges were Pinball and Bust Out, also Pyramid. I've never gotten very far on Pyramid. One day, ... Right? So, yeah. I think that's on all of our lists.
And John Lidville mentioned in the Skype chat that Chess, I think, was his first cartridge. The original Chess,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, I was a nerdy kid. I guess we all probably were, but I really enjoyed playing chess by myself with my computer. Oh boy, I was so lonely.
But then I think you mentioned in one of your interviews that then you discovered girls, right? So
Yeah, that came eventually.
Yeah.
At a chess tournament, I heard. But
Poltergeist, too. Okay, Richard talks about Poltergeist being a good one. Yeah. I will second that nomination. Poltergeist was interesting. It was interesting that it was kind of like a first-party licensed title of a game that only existed on the color computer. Like, it wasn't in the arcade. It wasn't ported anywhere. It wasn't on any other system. So we had the only video game adaptation of a major motion picture. So that's a kind of a cool accolade. And it's a halfway decent game.
Yep. It's one of the ones that Tandy released that actually had a pretty nasty bug that they didn't discover.
Oh, yeah?
First level, if you hold down the joystick button, the cars don't come out.
Oh, yeah. That's
Makes it
true.
rather easy.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure it was programmed by Robert Arnstein, who's the same guy who did Pyramid and Bedlam and Racket 2 and Project Nebula and a few others too. So he's not officially credited.
Yeah, that's a neat game.
So according to Mark,
go ahead, John. Say that again.
There was speaking of movie title, games that became movie titles or movies that became games. According to Mark Siegel, there was talk of having a Goonies game for the CoCo.
Oh wow!
Which he at some of hand because he did a ridiculous game. Of course, he's the one that approved Poltergeist. So
right. Well, the Goonies made their way to the arcade and to the NES eventually as a platformer. It would have been interesting to see what we would have gotten. That's an interesting little side story there. That's cool.
Yeah, I would like to have seen what Goonies would have ended up in on the CoCo or especially on the CoCo 3. It might would have actually been pretty cool, I think.
Yeah. Was it? Do you know if it was from the CoCo 1-2 era or the CoCo 3?
I don't recall from talking to him. I think it was later in the run, so probably the CoCo 3, but I'm not 100%.
It was a game by Datasoft.
Beam Rider Fedor brings up.
Yeah,
Beam Rider's a cool game.
Yo-yo.
Yeah, that's a pretty cool game.
Unique one, a very unique gameplay.
Yeah. Until you had mentioned that there was a game called Electric Crayon, because I had never heard of it. I thought that was an original game on the CoCo because I had never seen anything like that. Very
It wasn't
cool
a hugely popular arcade game, but
right. Is that worth pulling up? Should I pull up Beam Rider?
Sure. It's a nice simple one.
Yeah, okay. Fedor just gave that one 2 thumbs up.
Fedor's staying up to almost 2 in the morning here.
Come on, Fedor.
Yeah, but I'm falling apart. It's been a long day. It's been really hot.
It's been a long day. All right, sorting directory. BE. Beam. I love this CoCo SDC and the SDC Explorer, I must say. Shameful plug. Okay. And here we go. Beam Rider high scores. Spectral Associates. Okay, here we go. So this composite screen here that looks horrible, though. I don't know how it looks for you guys. I'm looking right at it, and it looks like crap. All right, so my job is to pick up all of the blue squares. I'm this yellow circle guy here. And as long as I am eating, kind of like Pac-Man, I can eat these conjoined squares that are still touching each other. And while I do that, I can move very fast. Once you run out of these squares, you start to move slower. And then he kind of draws a line to the next available area. Can I do anything with my fire button? I don't remember.
Not that I recall.
I can't. See, now I'm in open air, and when you're in open air, you move very slowly, and there's a bunch of bad guys bouncing around. Now that I'm moving in open air, if I find something off to the side and I move in that direction, he shoots like a tether and pulls you across, so you move a little bit faster. The object is to kind of clear the screen of all the doohickeys, and I just ran into a bad guy. I just blowed up by bouncing into that red face bad guy there.
You can run over the spinny things, the yellow and blue spin things. Those you can run over, but I think they eventually turn into a bad guy. And the little red head will actually track you the whole time, so he'll follow you around.
So he's a guy with a purpose. Okay, yeah, I just ate that thing there, whatever that was. Okay, and that just gave me invincibility. Oh, and I can beat him up. Oh, while the screen is flashing. Yeah, while the screen is flashing, I have superpower, kind of like the Pac-Man power pellet, I guess. Yeah, no, neat game. Like I said, when I saw this game, I thought it was 100% original. But gosh, there were so many games in the arcades going back to 77 or so is when arcade games first started coming out. So it's hard to know what everything was. Get out of my face. And there's an interesting little effect the way the guy moves, too. It kind of looks like he's stretching as he moves, you know? And this is kind of a neat arrangement of the playing field too, how it takes these little blue blocks that you want to get and then just kind of moves them around. So yeah, definitely a neat game. Beam Rider, Spectral Associates, and it's hard for me to think of a bad Spectral Associates game right now. None come to mind. I'm sure there might have been a miss or two, but there were certainly a lot of hits with Spectral Associates games.
Some of their very, very early ones, like 81, when they did in BASIC, probably, by later standards were not that good, but a lot of the early companies, Tom Mix too, in the earliest days actually did release BASIC games because people were still learning the machine.
Right. But I come to think of most of the Spectral Associates titles, even going back to like Microbes, being pretty good, and it's just it's time goes by, it's hard to remember. It's like the things you think you remember. Like I just, you think about like a shed you had in the backyard when you were a kid. It seems so big, and you look at it years later, it's like, oh my God, that thing's a box. I remember living inside that thing. So I think time has a way to distort memories and stuff like that too. But that was a cool game. There were games, because when I had my CoCo, I think a lot of us, we were probably young and had limited cash flow. So I was fortunate enough to where, a lot of the games you got copies from people, which is, you look, what's the word for it now? It's piracy. It's software counterfeiting. Listen, we didn't invent it. It was around. There were a lot of games that you got that you were lucky enough that you got a copy of, but there were certain games that you wanted so bad, and especially if it was on a cartridge before we knew how to copy cartridges too. What would be some games where you saw that cartridge and you said, you know what, I'm going to pony up my $40 and just buy this? Because for me, Dungeons of Daggereth was definitely one of those titles. Anybody got that I had to buy it and have it right away game?
Farfall.
Cave Walker.
Farfall, yes. Farfall. That's true for me. I pre-ordered my Farfall. I pre-ordered before CoCo Fest. So, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Who else had something to say there?
Cave Walker.
Cave Walker. That was you, David Ladd?
Yep.
Now, was that on cartridge or was that on disc? Because that's an OS9 game, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Like, I have, I bought Pegasus and the Phantom Rider. I bought that. That was on disc. I bought Gana Buana. That was on disc. Anything, and there wasn't much, but anything that took advantage of the speech sound pack was a must-have for me. So I purchased most of those. So I had probably the Pitfall 2s, the Gana Buanas. Downland, John Robb says, yeah, Downland, great game. I should probably pull that game up. Great title. Dungeons of Daggereth, hands down, had to have it. You know, we live in a time now where video games are hyped up so much that you know about the game, you know, well ahead of time. And now the games are pretty much franchises, you know, like one of the things Rick Adams said in his keynote, you know, Final Fantasy 15 must not have been that final. You know? So there are games that are, on, you know, being done and redone, and you know about them. And it's a big common thing now to pre-order games, you know, like go to GameStop and buy the game before it comes out. I don't think we really had pre-order back in the CoCo days. And I don't know, did Rainbow talk about games before they were out? Like, did we know a game was going to be released ahead of time or anything?
Rarely.
Yeah.
Usually that meant the game was behind schedule.
Oh, okay.
The Contras was advertised for, you know, a year or two before it actually finally got released.
Yeah. But like I get the Game Informer magazine every month because I have a GameStop membership. I'm not trying to brag or anything, just saying. But you know, Game Informer will talk about games that are coming out, and you have an interest. Like I'm a Tomb Raider fan, so I was interested in when the new Tomb Raider game was going to come out 6 months before it was released. You know, and then it's like a movie. You get the teaser trailers of the game before it's released and things like that. So game promotion now is a whole different animal. You know,
and even on the CoCo it is. I mean, if you look at the blogs that John did with Firefall and Nick did with Popstar.
True. That's what we have now, I guess, on the newer games. But there wasn't much of that back in the 80s and 90s. I'd take it.
No. People wanted to surprise people, and also you didn't want to let competitors know I'm cloning this game, so you know don't.
Somebody else might beat you to the punch.
Yeah, I mean it still happened. I mean, Donkey Monkey and Donkey King got released within a month of each other, as an example. So.
Right. I remember when we were preparing for that interview, we read the Rainbow article, and I think they said something to the point. It only suffers by the fact that it has to be compared to Donkey King, but on its own, it's not a bad game. You know, but it's because they both came out roughly around the same time. That can happen. But there were certain games that were just so popular, everybody, like how many Space Invader clones were there? Dozens of Space Invader clones, dozens of Pac-Man clones. You know, there were certain games. Tetris, yeah, John says. Somebody says Sokoban. That's Michael Brandt there. What the hell is Sokoban?
It's a puzzle game where you got to move the gold bars, and you have to do them in a certain order and going through the maze in a certain method so you don't get trapped and stuck. And you have to put them all into the finishing part, and there's multiple levels of it. There's the cartridge version, which also is one of those fat binaries that does use some extra colors and stuff on the CoCo 3. And there's also an OS9 version where you could actually edit your own mazes, too.
Invader's Revenge. That's the second mention of Invader's Revenge there. You know, you can use your words too, Fedor, since you're in the call. You don't necessarily have to just type it out there.
I don't want to interfere in this discussion.
That's okay. That's okay.
Invader's Revenge.
Yes, we're quite used to stepping on each other's toes here. It's part of the allure. Somebody who put that in the chat? Somebody said a tasty bakery at the mall. Sokoban. Is that like Cinnabon? Sokoban. A tasty bakery at the mall.
Sokoban myself, but
right. Oh, what should I pull up on the screen, if anything? Is there a game that we really want to see, or you think Cave Walker? Screw Cave Walker.
How about we look at some of the OS9 games as well?
Downland.
Isn't that what I just said?
You've been drinking.
Nick, what the hell's wrong with you, son?
OS9 this time. This is promoting it.
Yeah, we need to get Curtis's dad in here saying, "What the hell is wrong with you?"
Were there any games on the OS9?
Yeah, there was
one. Interbank Incident.
Interbank Incident. Yeah, where's Richard's still in the call?
Swift, Battle Simulator, Microscopic Vision, Rogue,
Police Quests.
Yeah, all the Sierra games.
Quest, yeah.
Steve is here. Steve Batson.
Played Rescue and Fractalus?
I tried it once.
You didn't know any of the controls.
I didn't. Yeah, because it's like because when Curtis says, you know, if you read that interview, the first thing I was thinking was read.
Yes, actually, plays off quite a bit.
I'm a video guy.
Yeah, well, that's another thing too. Is that in the old days, you not only was the game on something physical, but you usually got a book a manual with the game, you know. And a lot of times, like, what is a good example of the manual? If you look at Gana Buana, it's a comic book, you know what I mean? And they actually got an artist from Marvel Comics to do that. And a lot of times the books not only told you how to play the game, but there was a story woven through the manual too. So there was a little bit of creativity and a work of fiction was involved in the game manual. We don't have game manuals anymore. We don't have paper anymore. We barely have games on plastic. Like, I got for my birthday, I got for the Xbox Guardians of the Galaxy, which is like an episodic game. And when you pop in the disc, all it does is basically start downloading the episodes off the internet. So there's not even a game on the disc, and there's no manual to the game. What they do now is new games have like a tutorial that kind of walks you through the game mechanics and the controls. So your first hour or so in any new game is the manual, and the game itself teaches you how to play the game. That's a different shift in how things go too, is that, you know, when you look at how things have gone digital, look at what we used to have. Like, think about like Mozart and the classical musicians. We still know about their music because it was put on paper. You know, we still know about, you know, Bach and Beethoven and Mozart, and we can still appreciate their music because there was something physical left behind. We can collect retro cartridges or something physical left behind. All these digital games now, you know, like 90% of what's on my Xbox One is a digital download. What am I going to be able to show somebody 30 years from now about my retro Xbox, you know?
Yep.
You just don't
have
one
thing
that
about
thing.
The old manuals I don't miss is when they used to have those ones to help prevent piracy. Turn to page 42 and type in this code.
Oh, yeah.
Like Grand Prix by Intracolor actually had that, and it was this huge thing. It was on red paper, so it wouldn't Xerox well. And it was like 40 pages of these random numbers and stuff, and you had to turn to whatever to fire it up.
Some of the Sierra Online games were like that too. Turn to page 40, paragraph 3, word 5, you know, and you had to pull that crap up. I remember a game on my Tandy 1000 that actually had a wheel. It had like 2 or 3 different levels to the wheel, and you had to match up shapes and symbols in this wheel and read off a code inside that freaking decoder wheel. It's just insane.
Was like that too.
Yeah. So that's just a different form, because I guess they figured people are going to copy the discs. That's easy to copy, but it was back then maybe a little bit harder to copy books because not, you know, photocopiers weren't everywhere, and that costs money.
And they would do it on dark red paper.
Dark red paper, that's harder to copy.
Big black smudge. So.
Yeah, true. Kind of like on the checks now. The checks have that counterfeiting measure where if you photocopy
this is
a check.
pre-colored Xeroxing, which would have solved the problem, but.
Yeah, interesting. We had a few people mention Grabber and saying Grabber was a cool game and Grabber had good music. That's probably worth pulling up Grabber in here too, which I do agree. That was relatively unique. Can you think of a game that Grabber was a clone of? Is it safe to say that was fairly original?
It's very loosely based on Pac-Man, I guess, or Cave Hunter from the CoCo 1 early days, but that's about the closest ones I can think of. And the whole thing with Grabber that made it kind of unique is you had 2 mazes that are simultaneous, and you actually jump between them, and you can see a little box showing where you are in the other maze. So you can actually take shortcuts through what would be through a wall by quickly jumping to the other maze, going through the open space, and then jumping back.
Yep. And this is one of the games where, like, is it red or is it blue? It kind of doesn't matter. You know, it's like, what color is that guy supposed to be? Is he supposed to be red or blue?
I always played with him red, but I don't know if that's right.
Right. Now, how do you pronounce Mike's last name? Mike Huey?
Huey, yeah.
Huey. And Mike has made a handful of games. Did he make the Draconian game too?
Yes.
Okay. So he is pretty famous for games that feature interesting music as well. And the music that he uses is fairly a little bit more common. It's what I call like the organy style music that was in a lot of CoCo games, kind of the high pitch. Which freaking joystick am I using now, dude? I don't even know. I got 2 joysticks here.
Actually, the music stops. I think it's crashed. You might have the cassette version of it.
It was on the CoCo SDC, but maybe it's not meant for a CoCo 3.
It should run the CoCo 3, but there is a cassette version of it around that will crash eventually. There's a disc version that is specifically for disc.
Well, I don't. Whatever I have on the SD that came with my CoCo SDC is what I'm working with right now. So we'll try it one more time. Okay. There's one that's called GR2. Do you know what that is?
Is that Gold Runner 2000? Or?
Okay, that might be. Okay. So we'll try this one more time. Shoot. Okay. GR, Grabber, Shift M, Grabber bin. I don't know if it's going to crash again. It is what it is.
Yeah. Then we'll just let it go. And as far as I know, the only CoCo 1-2 game that had full polyphonic music in the background while the game is playing without requiring extra hardware to do it.
Mike Huey. How many players? 1 player. Yeah, it froze.
Yeah, okay. So that's probably the cassette one.
Okay. Not a lot we can do about that.
Called Rymel you could use that might work on it, but we'll leave that for another day.
Not a lot we can do about that. But yeah, I've got a video of that. Farfall is great, Michael Brandt says. Shameful plug right there, right? So yeah, let's shift on for a minute and let's talk about some of the newer games because that is an interesting discussion all into itself right now. Like some of the most recent ones that I've become familiar with have been in the past like 2 years, like leading up to like last year's CoCo Fest. So John Linville had a handful of titles like Farfall, Follow CoCo, Christmas Rush. John Strong had Bomb Squad. I want to make sure I get the Bomb title correctly, which is a new title from last year. Those are some of the most recent ones. And then, of course, Nick Morentis is Popstar Pilot, who's with us now. And we actually have all 3 of the new generation CoCo authors with us by Complete Coinky Dink. And so it's kind of cool that color computer games are still being made. And at least now we have the benefit of history and hindsight to say, if I could have done then what I know now, what would I do differently? And like the ability to develop games is now a lot easier. With John Strong has his own development tools. He's wrote himself. There are cross compilers. There's things like LW tools where you can assemble on a PC, port it to the CoCo. Nick Morentis doesn't do that though because he's totally old school. But you still have other ways to make your life a little bit easier even, and I think the only thing you did technically to cheat, Nick, was you used a Amiga, which is still a retro system, to do some of your artwork, but then other than that everything was done and typed in on a real physical CoCo, right?
Yeah, although I had the Amiga back then as well.
Right.
So it is all retro.
Yeah, even that's a retro system. So you chose to say, I'm going to do this as old school as possible. I'm going to do it the only way possible in the old school days.
Well, the only way I know.
The only way you know, right?
Can't teach an old dog new tricks. It's just
right. I need to find my other, because we're talking about Popstar too. We should probably show off some of these new games. I wish I knew where the hell. Here it is. Okay. All right. I found my other SD card, my other CoCo SDC. I don't think that one is set to completely auto boot. I think that's the first one I tried to upgrade when I was learning how to upgrade. That was my test system. But I do have, although I can't show off Farfall because I'm running a CoCo 3 right now. I do also have John Strong's cartridge. I could show off Bomb Squad too. So we're going to do things back in the old days before we had the CoCo SDC Explorer. I think it's just Nick is the name of your...
And one little side note while you're loading this up here too, I think all 3 of the games you just mentioned, Farfall, Popstar Pilot, and Bomb Threat...
Squad.
I did it. All had some fairly unique things that hadn't been done before. Like Farfall, I think, is one of the very few, if not the only, CoCo 1-2 cartridge actually used the double-speed ROM poke. Is that correct? I don't know if John's there to answer that or not.
Let's just go ahead and say yes. Let's be bold. And say it is
and
the first
John
game.
Strong's is the first one to use the high-res joystick software routines that don't require the high-res joystick interface.
I would also say it's probably the first one to use a multicolor 3D printed case as well.
Yep.
Not to mention the fact that, and here it is, here's Popstar. Let me, now that I have Popstar up, I'm going to go back and I'm going to grab some of these other games that we're talking about. So you guys keep talking. I'll be right back.
Well, the other unique thing is it wasn't the first and the recent to be ROM cartridge, but I think it was the first CoCo 3 specific ROM cartridge in quite a number of years.
Yeah. And then Nick, of course, I mean, Popstar has a few things that are fairly unique to it, like the palette driving in the background to do some of the special effects. And then if you get to the level 5, there's more than 16 colors on the screen, too. So,
yeah, a few Amiga-inspired special effects.
I'm going to switch to full camera here for just 1 second because I also forgot to mention I got focused on last year, but let's jump into this year. This year, the latest game for the CoCo that I'm aware of is Flooded by Evan Wright, and this is a game that he ported that's, I guess, on mobile systems and other systems. So this is a brand new cartridge that was available at the 2016 CoCo Fest. This cartridge takes advantage of some of John Linville's pre-packaging things that he has. So he's got some of these nice red boxes here. John Linville and a few other people went in. I think it was Mike Rowan and Boise, possibly. John can correct me. But they have produced now brand new red plastic injection molded cartridges. These are also available if anybody wants to put something on a cartridge. Now, it's never been easier now for somebody to make a game and put a game on a cartridge and distribute it in a physical ROM format. So this is the Farfall cartridge. This was my pre-release one. When John was boxing these up last year for CoCo Fest, I said, dude, I don't even need a box because I want to review the game before CoCo Fest. So he sent me one out of the box. I have one still in the box too. So because I'm a collector and I also want to support the community, I've got a Farfall sealed in plastic. This is John Strong's Bomb Squad cartridge that he designed himself. This is 3D printed, 2 colors, so you can see the 2 colors here. On the side here, you can kind of see where the thumb panels are. The little.
Okay, I'm only seeing Curtis. I'm not seeing you.
You got to click on my screen to see me full screen. Okay. And so you can see here that where you put your thumbs and fingers in to pull the cartridge out. This is an actual bomb indentation. So this is literally a custom cartridge that John made, and then this is John's packaging for that. Now, John's packaging for Bomb Squad was based on Tim Lindner's reproduction color computer ROM pack boxes. So he designed these and reproduced these as faithfully as possible with actually better quality materials. So there's the ability to buy these boxes now too to box things up. So when we talk about the future or the present and the future of CoCo Gaming, and I should just mention one more too since Nick is here. What Nick did is he produced Popstar Pilot on a CD-ROM. So he produced his own package, and in his package he has the CD-ROM, which has the disc image and also has some bonus content and other games. He's got a nice package and an inserted manual with Popstar Pilot. So the way games are being produced now with modern technology, they're being produced probably better than they were being produced back, or as good as they were being produced back in the day. The ability for I would imagine that a lot of the games that were just written by somebody out of their house anyways, right? So the equivalent now of what we would call an indie game or an indie game developer was probably what most CoCo games were. I don't know of very many people that they went to their game office every day and made games for a living all day long. But you guys would know better than I. But it's safe to say that most of the people who made games were just kind of doing it from their homes, and then they sold it to Radio Shack or whoever when it was done.
I was going to mention, like, third-party games, especially back then. I mean, they were just Ziploc baggies for the most part. There were a few of the big game developers. I mean, Tandy would be one that did professional packaging. Datasoft was another that did professional packaging. Electronic Arts, some of those. But a lot of them were just, here's a floppy in a Ziploc baggie with a Xerox 4-sheet manual.
John Strong's holding one right up right now. This is Soviet Bloc, written by John Strong from 1991. Documentation by John R. Strong.
So,
Not bad. Not bad.
Now, did you pick red specifically so it wouldn't be Xeroxable?
Red because it was
Soviet.
Oh, Soviet. Okay.
Block. Okay, that was the reason, not the Xerox. There's nothing in there that really is true there. And then
Xerox.
Gems.
Yeah.
And this is still one of the original discs.
Oh, wow.
Okay, and to give you a comparison of what we can do today.
Yeah.
Okay. You know, I've been doing on for a while on CD-ROMs, but gotta compete with Nick, so gotta update my stuff. Okay, and so we have.
Yeah, not bad.
And I've been printing the color in the CD-ROMs for a few years. Okay, but hadn't did the special packaging.
Extremely special.
Okay, or the
I
color
like that.
documentation.
Nice, nice. Definitely. Oh wow, look at that. You got and then you have screenshots of the various games. Yeah, that's nice. That's really nice. Yeah.
And so this is really something you couldn't afford to do as an independent person years ago.
Yeah.
The cost of manufacturing has come down so much.
Yeah, the fact that John Strong is 3D printing just about everything on the planet right now is showing you what's possible nowadays.
I remember listening to an interview with Scott Adams, Adventure International, and he was talking about that they wanted retail packaging, and he said his wife was bottle feeding child, and they had these disposable bottles, and they had this liner you put in them, and so the liner was just the right size, I think, for the cassette tape. And so they buy these, by the hundreds, and put the cassette tapes in them, and then make a little card for the top, and hey, look, retail packaging. And that was like 78 or something, 77.
Wow.
He was on the Cheers Model 1 stuff.
Yeah.
Times have changed. Yeah. The fact that we've got injection molded cartridges in boxes, and that John Strong can 3D print his own cartridges if he wants specific colors. And what we did for CoCo now, so Nick Marentes produced his own packaging himself, but what we did for CoCo Fest is we sent all that artwork off to a company that just produced it for us and shipped it to us shrink wrapped. So if you want to put something on CD-ROM or DVD-ROM format, there are companies online that will do that for you automatically. You just upload the image of the disc and you upload your artwork, and they will produce it and ship it for you on demand. So it doesn't cost you anything to have something shipped out on CD-ROM format. CD-ROM is definitely the second best thing, I would think, to a ROM cartridge. ROM cartridge is very retro period appropriate, because we actually used real cartridges then. I think the numbers have been good for both you guys. Nick had a good success with Popstar Pilot because it was, everybody knew about it. Besides the fact that Nick doesn't need, nobody needs to convince anybody on Nick's games. He's well known already, but he also was able to promote that development for a while, so there was a lot of awareness, which is helpful. Like you guys are mentioning now, the blogs now and social media is probably helping raise awareness on current products and future products, which is great. That's kind of like what we would, that's kind of the equivalent, I guess, to modern PC games now, where, you have these trailer videos. We had trailer videos for Popstar Pilot before the game was out because I was running them. That was kind of cool, with the 99 balloons in the background and stuff like that. So there's when you talk about your favorite CoCo game now, we've got lots of new CoCo games to call favorites, and so I'm fond of all the ones that I've gotten these past year or two from CoCo Fest and from everybody who's in the panel with us today. So what do you guys think about the present and the future of CoCo gaming?
I think it's the strongest it's been in years.
Absolutely.
And now you'll watch me die. What I'm really good at as a game tester is I'm really good at testing collision detection.
Just not the bullet collision detection.
Yeah, so I definitely help make sure there's no bugs in anybody's collision detection routines. I'm playing on the Tandy Deluxe joystick again because that's what's hooked up. But one of these days talking about gaming, I have the Sega adapter, which is a John Linville, Neil Blanchard joint there. You know what I was just thinking about too? So the Sega gamepad adapter lets you plug in Sega Genesis and Atari style controllers to your CoCo. So you have that nice digital 8 direction rugged gaming experience. I was just thinking, if I want the ultra uber geek out thing, because I've got the adapter that lets me play CoCo joysticks on my PC via USB. I could theoretically plug the Sega adapter into that and then plug an Atari joystick into that and use that on an emulator, running a Wyco controller or something like that, running that on my PC emulator now because of all the doohickeys that I have now, the doohickeys, whatever the hell they're called. So I think that should theoretically work, right? If it's an adapter for a CoCo controller, and I've got a USB CoCo controller, I should be able to run it.
Theoretically, it should work.
Yeah.
The only issue I would see is maybe power. What's being provided out through that. But,
right.
The Sega adapters, 4066s, I believe, and a couple transistors, and that's CMOS, very low power. So I wouldn't see why you wouldn't get enough power to be able to run it.
Well, we'll find out. Like I said, theoretically, it sounds like it might be possible, but I'll actually try it. But if I could run like a nice Wyco controller, I've also got one of those NES Advantage sticks, which is like a really good arcade stick. So if I could run that through my CoCo, that would be kind of cool too. Or run it through my PC, I should say. That would be pretty cool for playing like some emulation type stuff.
Well, and some of us built, our arcade sticks up, just either to work on the CoCo or otherwise. So those are those options.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little behind in what I was hoping to be along in development and stuff. I've been fighting with some sound card issues because I want to support both the on card and then the off card and some stuff, And so still working with prototypes and trying to find out what issues are going on. And had some personal health issues that slowed me down a little bit. I had some outpatient surgery.
No, you okay?
Yeah, I'm okay. Just still recovering, a little slow. But it's just slowed me down on getting some things done. No major.
That joystick you showed me at CoCo Fest, the red one, the very nice, rugged, springy one. I would love one of those. If you ever want to make one of those available for sale, consider it sold.
Oh yeah, I plan to do that. It's just we just got to buy up enough of them and sit down and have enough time to do that.
Because that's a really nice arcade stick.
Yeah, that's one of my last year's experiments and taking things to the next level.
So Fedor says he's leaving now. He's been saying that for like an hour and a half now. So
he's been captivated.
Fedor, you're not leaving.
He's officially gone now.
Dios.
Fedor is gone. What else we want to talk about games? Have we done enough game talk for now? We want to move on and talk about other CoCo things, or I'm in no hurry, and there's no nothing to worry about here. But what do you guys want to talk about now? You want to keep this going?
I'm excited by all the people who's doing games now.
Mm-hmm. Okay? Yeah.
Even quote unquote their competition, I'm still excited about it.
Right.
Bruce and Hugo and Mark Donegal are like that's
the
last name completely
McDougal.
Right.
Mark McDougal.
Okay, McDougal. I was missing the Mook.
Yeah.
And of course, excited about Nick's new project.
Mm-hmm. Gunstar.
It's just a lot of things there, and I'm looking at the projects I'm doing that they're going to be, and I think really cool. And I think we have I think we're in the best shape, most interesting time as far as games and stuff, and the CoCo since the CoCo, has stopped production.
Right, because we got both you guys here who are working on sound hardware for the CoCo, which is something, sadly missing.
Yeah, to Linville, if he's still on, I do need you to contact me so I can get some of those cards from you so I can support.
So here's a dumb hypothetical question, and this kind of piggybacks on a discussion we had a week or so ago about like when is modifying your CoCo too much, right? But you guys are already adding sound hardware, which we've never had, which is a nice needed feature, and I think that's going to increase the value. What if we add sprite hardware to a ROM cartridge? Is that possible?
Yes, it's possible, and then you'd be running, basically on it. And I believe, wasn't it Lewis or somebody did the one based on the TI chip, and it has the sprites in
9918.
Yeah, the 9918.
Yeah, I mean you could do that direction. Problem with that chip, of course, is it has its own video output. You need your own monitor connected up there.
I see.
Yes.
Needs its own RAM.
What you also could potentially do is have like a blitter of some sort. You know, the Williams arcade games had blitters in them, so that's a kind of a period correct piece. Unfortunately, I don't know of any source of those other than, you know, trashing Williams arcade hardware. So
well, this is, you know, kind of the interesting things with the replacement gimme chip that might happen, and you know, it's already being done on the CoCo Nano to some extent.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's not so much you can put it in the cartridge very easily. Didn't say it couldn't be done, just not easily.
Right. Actually, yeah, you brought up a good point that it has to be able to output back to the VDG in order for us to see it. So that produces some, I would imagine, some electronic challenges.
Well, you know, I could imagine it could be possible to take your RGB out, plug it into your game cartridge, and do some mixing on the board on the game cartridge, and your main output be from that. That's going to be a lot of work.
Yeah, it sounds pretty
hacky.
hacky.
Kind of like the CoCo 2 VGA board is doing, where it's giving those extra modes with 16 colors and stuff on a CoCo 1 and 2.
Yeah, that's a fantastic project that he's doing there. I had some talks and some crazy suggestions for him, and so I'm waiting to see if he's able to pull off some of the things we talked about. It'd be quite cool, and it's quite cool as it is.
Yes.
And but it's got some potential there that, you know, you guys haven't seen yet, that I've talked about with him. So whether it can be pulled off is another thing. But yeah, there's a lot of potential, a lot of different ways. How far is too much?
It would be interesting with whatever this thing was. It could be just stored on a ROM cartridge, so it doesn't require a modified CoCo to work. Like most of these sound solutions will be on cartridge, so it's self-contained with the game. It'd be kind of cool if there's a way to not only give us an audio boost, but some type of graphical boost as well on cartridge, and you know, that would just be a really cool feature. Not knowing all the logistics and electronics behind it, it's, you know, it's easy to wish for this to happen.
Well, the CoCo 3, you know, gimme replacement is targeting to be able to pull out the chip and be able to put another spatial socket back in there that plugs into that and run there. So it's a minor modification. It's just pulling out a chip that does come out at this time. So
yeah, the only socketed one on the CoCo 3.
Right. So it is a socketed chip, and to me, it's fair game. Yeah, but you have to understand that, you know, I'm a guy who started with a 4K CoCo, you know, way back when, okay, and ended up modding it all the way up to 512 and, you know, multi-packs and
you realize that you voided your warranty, right?
Well, I don't know. The tag is still there over the hole.
That was like the fear of God to me as a child. You never want to void your warranty. It was between the fear of voiding your warranty and just undying loyalty to the people at my Radio Shack store that kind of like raised me. They were my second set of parents that I always wanted to have any work done by them until Donkey King came out. Then I'm like, go ahead, have at it.
Well, you know, our kind of badge of honor is when we'd open them, we kept that label intact, and then, you know, oftentimes put it back over the same screw hole, but without the screw there, so we could take it apart.
That's clever.
And
that's clever.
Like it was sealed.
Very clever.
That's what's kept intact. Anytime if we'd have to return it to the factory, we could pull our mods out and stick the label back on it.
Well, something that's going to be neat for me, too. So last year, I think it was around September, I did a showcase on Color Computer 3 games. And for the most part, most of those games I played for the first time in my life because I'm very new to the CoCo 3. And I experienced a bunch of games that I never saw before, and I have a whole newfound respect for the CoCo 3. What I have behind me, which you can hardly barely see, but just last weekend I picked up my Tenno Dragon new in box. And what I'm actually looking forward to experiencing now are Dragon games. And so they're basically CoCo games, but there are a handful of games that maybe only existed on the Dragon. So I'm going to be looking forward to finding some of those and playing some of those on a real Dragon. I could be playing them on an emulator, I suppose, but it'll be kind of cool for me having my first ever Dragon and playing Dragon games for the first time. There's going to be kind of that cool, exciting moment again to be able to do all of that. So that's something I'm looking forward to in the near future. Any of you have experience with some Dragon games, and are there any that kind of are like must-play titles for the Dragon?
Are you going to be using the Dragon joysticks, or?
Yeah, I have them.
I didn't have many games for mine, so I couldn't really recommend.
Yeah, there's quite a few interesting ones there. I mean, some of them have been backported to the CoCo since, so I mean, you probably have played some of them. But Jet Set Willie's a good one. I'm trying to think of some other ones by the same authors. There's a bunch of unique ones though that were like on the reports between the Spectrum and the CoCo or the Dragon and some of the other machines that were sold more in Britain. There's quite a few of those. There's the old Cuthbert series, of which some were U.S. games ported to the Dragon and renamed, but some of them are actually original ones that involve the same character. I think Chucky Egg was another one. There's quite a few.
Okay, we'll have to do some series on that, just some of the interesting Dragon titles and things like that. That's something I'm looking forward to.
There's also that new Dragon game also by what's his name from England.
Are you talking about Flagenbird from?
Yeah, Flagenbird. Yeah, Richard.
Yes, yeah. Steve Bosco, Bamford. Steve Bamford, aka Bosco. Yes.
Right.
Or Steve. Yeah. So yeah, Flagenbird is cool. That also plays on the CoCo. So from what I understand, just bits and pieces I remember hearing from the podcast, it's something in the ROM where the keyboard translation is different, so the Dragon keys don't map exactly right. And I think what John Linville said he did in Farfall is he just checks for the keyboard and looks for either one and will accept, Farfall will run on a Dragon too.
Keys map identical.
Okay. Glenn Hewlett says I got to go. Richard Lorbieski had to leave. I think Nick Morentis put a message in Skype saying he's got to go too. So some of us are dropping off like flies here. So thank you everybody who was here for the time you were here. We appreciate you having here.
The ROM routine for the keyboard could be called by the indirect call the same way if you called that. However, the shortcut to a lot of games and stuff different was located different places in the Dragon. And if you did your own keyboard routine, the matrix layout matrix between the Dragon and the CoCo was different.
Okay.
And so some things would run without modifications. Some things would run into issues with it.
Okay.
Theoretically, you could make a lookup table so you could, just remap the stuff. Or
well, some of the guys actually took and rewired the keyboard matrix so it matched the CoCo matrix, and so just run it as CoCo.
So we do have some new games in development now. Like Nick Morentis is working on Gun Star, who just left us, and now John Strong is working on a Wreck-It Ralph clone called Fix It Felix, which is a work in progress. So these are some kind of cool new titles that are currently in development. They're kind of, on the horizon.
Well, there's a new old game too.
What's that? Forest. I've heard a lot about that. I went to Chicago and I saw a whole presentation on that. It was pretty good, eh?
I just spent an hour with Simon Jonas, and he's trying to write a routine that will run background music on the CoCo 2.
Oh, wow.
While Basic is going on. And, man, if anybody can do it, it's him, but it's pretty tough.
Yeah.
But we're trying
So whenever you're ready to schedule a formal interview to talk about that project, we'd love to do that with you, Bruce. So other than what we know is happening right now on the horizon, if you had to wish for a game to come out on a CoCo, what would your dream CoCo game that you'd like to see be?
Steve, got a question for you. Do you have the links on your website to order these games?
Kind of, sort of. I have links to some of John Linville's blogs and John Strong's blogs. I don't know that there's specific ordering information on their blogs, though. That's a great question, and if that does not exist, it should.
Yeah, just contact me by my email address at johnstrong@hotmail.com.
Now, but I do have most of the people's blogs on my site, but how you reach them and purchase from them via their blogs, I am not sure about. How those individual sites are constructed. Great question, but so the nice thing would be, well, here's the other thing too. There was recently was added a shopping site. Let me just pull it up on my website. Okay, so here's my website here, right? And what was that shopping site that was recently just introduced called? It was called CoCo Wares. I forgot who was doing that. Was that Carlos Camacho was starting CoCo Wares? But
I honestly can't remember.
CoCo Wares.
I believe so.
So CoCo Wares is an attempt to consolidate everybody who's got current things for sale under one website. So CoCoWares.com, which there is a link to that as well on my site. But and there is pinned to the Facebook group. I don't think Brian's in the group anymore, but one of the last things Brian Blake did was he pinned a thing saying, here's some common things everyone should know. If you need a CoCo SDC card, contact Ed Snyder. If you need a 3D printed case, contact John Strong. So he kind of listed some of the go-to people for some of the core components and sundries that we use on a regular basis. That was pinned there. I've tried to compile websites, but is there one simple link saying here's who you reach specifically to buy this product? I don't know that one simple page exists, but it probably should. The quick go to buy here, click here page. So we'll work on that. But do me a favor, just crank it out real quick in HTML for us, Grant. Can you do that?
Sure, no problem.
So,
yes. Part of the issue is this too is basically the game cartridges. I know that John Linville does these in batches, and so do I. So it's not something that we always have available in the cartridges because of the amount of time and stuff it takes to produce those for people. And so some of that we do mostly at CoCo Fest, just simply because of the amount of time and effort it takes to get everything prepped. We kind of stock up for CoCo Fest and then go on there until we sell out, etc.
Yeah. But yeah, so what, like if you could see any game you wanted on the CoCo, like for me, it'd be cool to see something like Minecraft. That would be huge to accomplish, but that would be a cool wish list to see. What kind of new game that, as far as we know, is not in the works yet, would you like to see on a CoCo 1, 2, or 3?
Well, Jacob is double thumbs up for mine.
Yeah, Minecraft on the CoCo?
Yeah.
Hey, what does he play on? Does he play on PC or console? Bruce. Did we lose Bruce? All right, we'll move on. But besides Minecraft, what would you guys love to see on the CoCo as far as a future new game that's not currently in production?
Terraria.
In my case, I would like to see an original one because that was some of my favorite games from the CoCo.
Yeah,
are originals that don't exist anywhere else, like Photon or Grabber or something like that. So
Photon,
come up with something brand new.
Okay, come up with something brand new, which is kind of probably what Nick's doing now with Gunstar. Even though the genre is not a new genre, it's a new game, I guess. So you're talking about like even a new genre that doesn't fit into any particular mold?
Not necessarily that. I mean, there's been so much development over the last 40 years. It's kind of hard to come up with a new genre now. But you can come up with an original game that has some mechanics that are unique to your game, or playing that's unique to the game, as opposed to trying to clone something.
Yeah, I would love to see Hugo's game when that's ready too. His platformer he's working on that looks really interesting.
Yes,
I do have something in preliminary design work that's completely original in that aspect. But I've got so many projects and ideas, when I'll get to do it. But there's definitely still room for that to happen. It's actually in a genre that I don't think anybody's done that on the color computers yet.
Okay, interesting.
It's
Interesting.
one of the games that I have in mind.
Nice teaser.
Right. So
Yeah,
knowing what our physical limitations are, the physical limitations are the speed and the number of colors and things like that. We can't stretch those laws of physics, but some of the things we have been able to stretch have been like the ability to store things on CoCo SDC, virtual storage, virtual hard drives. I'm imagining it would be kind of cool to have some type of game to incorporate a lot of the elements that are kind of around the community, like John Linville has a video player. Wouldn't it be kind of cool to have a game on a virtual hard drive that every now and then pulls up a full screen video? To my knowledge, there haven't been a lot of games on the color computer that use full screen video. That was very popular in the 90s, like on any CD-ROM based game. That would be kind of cool now to incorporate some of these tools. The only way to do that is you would pretty much need a CoCo SDC on a virtual hard disk to have the capacity to pull it all in.
And the speed.
And in the speed. But that would be kind of cool, is just, kind of stretch not only the imagination, but stretch some of the techniques and capabilities that are newer in existence and newer to our awareness and stuff,
And that's precisely why I kept egging Nick on to trying to finally write a 639 game, because same thing. You have a chip that can do a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people have it now. We don't really have any games that really fully take advantage of it. A few new tweaks and stuff based on it, but we haven't had a full dedicated 639 game, and I'd really like to see what that chip can do.
Yeah, well...
And I agree, and I haven't bit the bullet to convert to 6309 for myself.
John Robb says he'd love to see Ultima 4.
Well,
cool.
So the 7th Link is probably pretty close, technologically wise. It even has real 3D rendering when you're in the dungeons.
Yeah. That's cool. I just think that we're still barely scratching the surface on what not only what our imaginations can unlock, but what's physically possible. And I think as new things come around, like add-on sound and CoCo SDC and flash cartridges and the ability to do bank switching and have a cartridge go up to 5, but even 512K is a fairly fixed limitation on a larger scale game. It's probably good to have a traditional platform style game and a few things like that, but in the minute you want to introduce things like video and stuff like that, that's going to blow through the ceiling of 512K. But designing something for CoCo SDC, you almost have unlimited capability in what you could pull off of a virtual hard disk or something,
Yeah, you can do that. And the cartridge could be stretched in a lot of different ways. It really hasn't been talked about. And John Linville has hinted at some of the ways that we can stretch the cartridge even, above and beyond.
What's the read time on those cartridges? Would that still read faster from ROM than we could read from like a CoCo SDC, a virtual hard disk?
Yes.
Okay, so
even with the new streaming command that Darren added?
That I would have to check, but still you're going to reach out and touch, and there it's in your memory now. You're just going to move it from your memory in. There you're going to do that. It might be coming close with the streaming.
I guess that's right, because you're still having to read from the controller and tell the controller to get something, whereas on the ROM, you're just dumping memory raw that you already have.
Right. So I imagine it'll be, always be a little bit, I imagine it has to be always a little bit faster coming from the ROM, but it may not be significantly, with some of the extra things that's being done. There's nothing that says that we can't put, our own serial flash chip, on it and stream stuff in through that, even though that would maybe not be as fast. That's something I keep wanting to look at in depth to do, because I really want to be able to have some games that say it's high score and you have to be a cartridge.
Yeah, that's cool.
And the cost difference between a small one and a big one is minimal.
Okay. I start having non-volatile RAM on our ROM cartridges. That's a cool feature.
And so there's just so many ideas and having enough time to do that.
Right.
We have day jobs. We have
yeah,
family.
yeah.
Those darn things.
And my wife is really understanding with this stuff, so that helps.
Yeah, definitely.
But there's still times, we have to have that time together to do that. It's like,
right.
Today I didn't think I was going to make the talk because we're going to go out this weekend. We got looking, and thought we was going to go up north a little bit and find a hotel. They're like all booked up today, and they open up and the prices drop tomorrow. So we're going to look at maybe heading up tomorrow up to Traverse City, Michigan, or something. We haven't been up there for a long time, and nice country up there. But you have those things to do, and it takes time, it takes money. All this stuff. So
yeah, Jim Brain just chimed in. It says you can play with the EEPROM on the CoCo Flash.
Yeah, and that's a great tool that I'm looking at and using and helping with stuff, is because it's got some of those features that we want to use and test, the bank switching and stuff, so I can prototype with that.
Yeah, there's just so many hardware things that we can start to tap into.
Yeah, because right now today before I got on lately, because I was actually working on the multi-pack, I did the CoCo 3 upgrade and trying to see if I could get it to work with the Jim Brain sound card. And I'm still having issues with that, even with the normal multi-pack. Though I can get it to work plugged straight into the CoCo. So, I don't know if it's something in my system that's causing it or what. But I can't develop it for it till I get it figured out.
Right.
And if he's listening, I did find out when a reboot does remaps the address that you got a cool feature. You can actually change the address via software that the cartridge is you're speaking to. In my version, that does change. It changes back to the default when it's powered down or reset. And I didn't know that. That may be something that he knew and didn't tell me in our little bit of conversation. But, so, things like that open a lot of possibilities. And, he's talking, he's got a prototype with 4 sound chips on it,
That's amazing. We have so many sound choices coming at us soon enough here. It's going to be...
Yeah. And so it's... very interesting time as far as the developer. And I'm like, okay, how can I take advantage of all these things?
Right. Options.
And keep it as inexpensive as possible for people to buy. I worry about that, but I look at $40 for a game cartridge. But I see used stuff out there going for that.
Yeah, no, that's not unreasonable, I don't think, and I don't think anybody's had a problem right now. Well, you could certainly speak to that.
I'm old school enough. I'm looking at $40. That's a high-end cartridge.
Right.
But hey, I've been in this a long time, and
go
remember the other stuff.
Go to like Atari Age and look and see what they're selling their stuff for. At the end of the day, we don't need to compare ourselves to anybody. Your time and your talent have value. The product that we're going to purchase has value. The entertainment aspect of it has value. The fact that it's something new for our CoCo has value. The fact it's collectible has value. I don't think you need to make a case for what something's worth. And I haven't seen anything that you've made or John Linville's made or Nick's made that has been unreasonably priced. Anywhere between $25 to $40. I would go as high as even paying $50 or $60 for something if there was what I felt to be some value in the product. Like I wouldn't pay $60 for Follow CoCo, which is a very simple 4-color match-to-color games. But for something like a really good quality arcade game that's got lots of levels to it and there was a sound chip built in and everything else, I would have no problem paying $60 for a brand new high-quality CoCo game with including hardware, So...
this is something that I know that we have people in the community that don't have.
Yeah.
And the idea is people have to get to understand, if you're a retro community, you're going to have the old games, and some of those are going to be free. And then you're going to have, you're going to have to pay, if you're doing commercial stuff. And I mean, some guys are going to give it away free. I have no problem with that.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But by the time I invest in, the cartridge and do all this stuff,
yeah,
I've, it just, I'm going to charge.
Yeah, yeah, and I don't think there's any argument or complaint when it comes to that. And if they are, screw them. We don't need them. They're not our kind of cocoa nuts. They're ungrateful bastards.
I really think that it's a lot of interesting things. I'm excited what Nick's going to come up with, and of course I'm going to have to think, okay, what I can come up to kind of match him. But I haven't got to that point yet. I had other projects to finish.
You mentioned the word competition. When other people are doing things, is it competition? I guess there's not that many words you can use. Technically, we're not competing with each other. We're all, when I say we, I'm not doing anything, but you guys, you're making things that we want, and so the more people that are out there making those things, the better it is for us consumers. That we have more products. Yeah, it's a friendly competition, but it's also, I would look at it as probably like an inspiration and a motivation too. And man, these people are making stuff. I better keep motivated too, because I know that was one of the things we talked about is how do you stay motivated when you're working on a project and when you're at that part of the process where it's no longer fun. You're in the labor phase where I've got to hash this part out to make this thing happen. Now it's no longer play, it's like work. How do I force myself through that hurdle? Probably seeing somebody else doing something might help with that.
it does, and it also gets on these talks help. Okay.
Yeah.
And our Neil is playtester. We'd talk text back and forth or email back and forth on things and stuff. So it's things that you use to keep going. Good compliments. I don't go out and try to seek compliments. I don't have that big an ego on my games. But
David Ladd does.
Say, what I
what? What the heck you talking about, Willis?
But what I will say though is when somebody says something about it, it does help, and it helps, to motivate. That's not
good.
The goal. It's not the goal to go out there and feast for compliments. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But showing something cool and cool compliments come back, that helps greatly as far as motivation on doing something.
Yeah.
And that applies to hardware and software projects too. That's not in general. That doesn't apply just to games.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the things that I complained about it at work, is because I do some very unique things for them, and they're not seeing it. We've got some people that are getting recognition in the company for some of the cool stuff that they do, which is all right, but other people are not. And I think it should be across the board. And because we're all, good, and like all these guys doing these things, they're like, whoa, wow, okay, yeah. Oh, they're doing that. Well, I wouldn't do it that way, but hey, it's a good idea.
Right.
It's just like, I'm looking at the great work they're doing in the Pac-Man transcode.
Yeah.
That's neat. I think what Nick did on Pac-Man was great. This is kind of different. He's trying to convert the other. And I'm looking at it and saying, well, Pac-Man's not that fast game. Does he need compile sprites? Well, okay. If you want to compile sprites, he can compile sprites.
Right.
And, it's his project.
Yeah.
We don't always come to the same decision given the same set of data. But it's all very interesting. And it's going to be interesting to see Bruce's project. It's not the kind of stuff I write, but we need it all. I can still remember a long time ago that Alan Huffman had come and said, people was walking by, I heard somebody say, he was looking at my puzzle games, and those are boring games. And Alan says, this guy's saying those are boring games, but it's a very good clone of Tetris, and Tetris is like a popular multi-year game. It's still popular.
Yeah.
And this guy is saying, well, this is boring, and kind of passing on. So everybody has their type of game they like to play. My brother liked to play the RPGs. You have to hit this guy 100 times and go back and hit him 100 there to gain 1 point. He could constantly play that all the time. And me, I just get bored to daylights out of it.
Yeah.
After I've done it a little bit. And, I want something new. Yeah, I already proved I can fight this guy. Give me a new challenge.
Right.
And so everybody's different
Yeah.
in what we want and the games they do, the way we look at game design and, what we think, needs to be done. And so it's interesting to see some of these, comments on the compiled sprites and in some cases of saying, well, yeah, okay, yeah, I see where you need that. Well, no, I don't see what you need in that case. And how much time and effort do you put in to one thing if you can't see it on the end? And, sometimes it's a matter of pride. You want to make sure you do exactly the best. Other times, good enough is good enough.
Right.
Your title screen, okay? I don't need compiled sprites for a title screen, most likely. I may use them because I already have them, but, it's judging how much time do I put into this part of the game, and is it going to be seen? Is anybody going to notice any difference between it, because I've optimized this out? Because we've had a lot of talk about optimization, and it's good to know how to optimize, okay? And there's times you absolutely need it. But optimization can mean a lot of different things to different ways. You could be optimizing for size. Okay? I remember years ago, cool, when I did a screen print to a Tandy printer and let 128 bytes. That was cool. But, speed is not always everything. Optimizing may not always necessary for everything. Sometimes you spend so much time getting it perfect that you never get it released.
Yeah, I think Bruce wants to jump in with something here. Go ahead, Bruce.
Oh, well, just on the same sort of theme here about competition and all and recognition and all that. I think I mentioned this about the CoCo Fest, but it struck me as like an art. This is kind of like art. It's kind of like an art display or a performance in a way, producing some art. And so you might make something, and someone will look at it and go, "Well, what is that? I don't, I don't get that piece of art at all." And someone else will go, "Well, that's brilliant." But we're so it's not that we're trying to necessarily beat somebody else out. We've got an artistic vision, and we're trying to bring that out. And the encouragement from others is fabulous, and especially if you can work together with somebody, that just pumps you up altogether. But as an artist, if someone says, "Hey, I really dig that painting" or whatever, does that encourage you to just okay,
Exactly.
Right.
All
right. And if you go to an art show, you will see things from somebody taking plastic beads and stringing them together and making earrings to somebody who does sculptures, hand sculptures, somebody who does oil painting. You're going to see a vast array of things. And again, I don't think anybody looks at that as a competition of who's the best artist. There's something for everyone. And the person making those earrings might sell 100 pair of earrings because they're $2 each. And the person with their fancy oil painting that wants $400 might not sell at all. So what's the best is also not always the measuring stick. That's a great point of view. So if I could paraphrase that, really what you're trying to say is you really just want to express yourself. You want to express your idea. And the more of these ideas and expressions we have out there, there's just more art for people to appreciate depending on what their tastes are, which is very cool.
And it's not, and it's not like, and no one's here trying to make a whole lot of money, right?
No.
We'd like to kind of break even if we could, wouldn't that be nice? But if we create something and someone like in our community, guys like us look at the other CoCo stuff and we actually appreciate what we're doing, where everybody else is going to go, "What are you doing that for?"
Exactly. Right. Yeah. An outsider.
We get it.
Yeah. Hey, Alexander Wallace in the chat has a question about it. He says, "Can I ask for help on how to start a game? I just got the CoCo SDC working. I want to play King's Quest 1 with my kid, but I can't remember how to start the game." Is that something you can help me explain to him, and I'll pull up on a CoCo 3 on the CoCo SDC, Curtis, or anyone else?
It should be just a Nose 9 boot and type Sierra-R if you're RGB and just Sierra by itself your composite.
Well, I think a picture is worth 1,000 words here, so I will try something real quick. So what I'm going to try to do here, Alex, I don't know what version Yeah, he says it boots into nitrous, right? So if I say, okay, so I need to say, dir. This one has not been patched with CoCo SDC Explorer, so it's games. Oh, I should probably just switch cartridges. Hold on one second. I'm not going to type. Typing's for losers. All right.
Just like reading manuals.
Yeah, typing and reading are both for losers. All right,
Well,
so
you're
hold
doing
on.
that. I want to say that, the CoCo stuff is still having manuals. I know that Nick does and mine does.
So it's KQ. It's K. K for King's Quest. So we'll do KQ1. I'll do a Shift M to mount. OS 9 disk. Press Enter to boot. So now I'll just hit Enter to boot. So now we're booting into Nitrous 9. Oh my God, I have OS 9 on my computer.
Yep. Now just type in Sierra -R if you're on.
Okay, so now I am just in. Okay, so just out of curiosity right now, if I typed in dir and I saw what was in my directory, somewhere on this directory, where is the Sierra? The Sierra executable is not even here. It's in a startup folder, right?
No, it's in the commands folder.
Commands folder. So if I did a dir cmds, is it case sensitive?
Nope.
If I did dir commands, inside the commands folder is the Sierra folder, which is the launcher. And so now you just type in Sierra.
Yeah, and you put -R if you want RGB or not.
-R for RGB.
Yeah.
Okay. And then this will theoretically, if you have a joystick and wish to use it, press its button.
That works for all the Sierra games too.
Yes. So let's see. Okay. And what this game is missing right now is 3-voice music.
We're waiting for the sound card, Steve.
But the notes are very clear, though. They're not warbly, as Curtis likes to call it.
It's not using stock OS 9 sound calls. It's actually using its own hard-coded routine. Why they didn't bother to call electronic, I have no idea.
Yeah. So these were mentioned by... Okay, shut up. Jesus Christ, you're killing me. Okay. How do we stop this crap? I can't
you
stop.
don't know how to start the game, so you can just hit reset.
Yeah. All right. So anyways. All right. Oh, look at that when I hit reset. There we go. All right. There we go. So hopefully that helped there, Alexander.
The, OS 9. So Steve, when are you going to start working on the OS 9 project on your, to teach us how to do it?
Well, it's on my
tutorials.
list. Yeah, I need to. As soon as I learn it, I'll be happy to share the knowledge. I actually do want to learn it.
So a few eons.
Well, yeah, you won't see the -R, Alexander, when you do a dir. You're not going to see -R. -R is now just a modifier, a command option you're passing off to the executable or the script. So Sierra is the program. -R is now just saying running in RGB versus composite. Just like DOS commands, like you could do a dir /P for pause and things like that. Yep. So yeah, that's probably just one of the challenges that people who don't understand OS 9 face, right? So with a CoCo, you just type in dir, you see the name of the program, it's in the root of that folder, and you just launch the bin or the BAS file in your disk extended basic. In the case of this Sierra disk, it wasn't even clear what you were supposed to type in, because when I saw dir, I didn't see anything. I don't know anything about OS 9. Oh. You guys had to tell me to look in the commands folder to look for Sierra. Now, if you bought the book, it would have came with the book, right? So the book would have told you type in Sierra. Yeah. Now that we're playing it 30 years later, you have to guess.
Yeah, so. OS 9 is nice. It actually has executable directories and command directories. Oops, I said that's nice about OS 9.
Yeah, but the other thing was, too, is that I typed in Sierra, and it was in a directory called command, so there's obviously a path or an environmental
there's an execution directory path and a data directory path.
So there are some actual OS-y type things about this Nitrous 9, apparently, or this OS 9 thing. It's almost like an actual operating system.
So is there and to be honest, a lot of the games back then, because OS 9 wasn't as easy to use as RS-DOS for this kind of thing, would actually have the boot up screen give you the instructions. Type Sierra-R to start adventuring.
Okay.
And I think the original King's Quest 3 and Leisure Suit Larry did do that, actually. They actually gave the instructions exactly what to type. Why they didn't do that on the other ports.
So so you're saying when the floppy first boots, it like printed out a little display on the thing, like an autoexec bat file that says type in Sierra-R for RGB or something like that? Okay. Yeah. I'm sorry, Grant, were you getting ready to say something?
What's the difference between OS 9 and Nitrous 09?
The
Nitrous
Nitrous
9 is the optimized version of OS 9. It was originally designed for the 639 chip, so it's got a ton of optimizations for that chip. It runs way faster, but it has since been backported back to the 609 chip and also back to the older CoCo 1 and 2, because originally it was CoCo 3 only. So it's basically a very more modernized, optimized, bunch of extra features version of OS 9.
All right, cool. Thanks.
Yeah, very cool. All right, well, we've definitely been beating this topic to death now for over 2 hours. Talking about color computer games, we could talk about this for 24 hours and not even cover every single game. So this is probably a good one to visit and revisit over time. And maybe when people are watching this video in replay, what I would ask those of you to do is to leave in the comments what some of your favorite CoCo games are for the CoCo 1, 2, and 3. I still want to put together a special of like the top 10 Color Computer 1 and 2 games and the top 10 CoCo 3 games. And, you know, it's always a subjective thing because it's, you know, do you want to do just top 10 arcade games versus top 10 sports games versus top 10, you could even get into genres, top 10 shooters, or is it just top 10 games? So there's a million ways to slice that, and like we've mentioned in this talk this evening, everybody's favorite is different. Like somebody is going to not think Tetris is interesting and somebody else will. And this is art. This is people expressing themselves. So just as like there are many different artists with many things to express, as a consumer, we have a variety of tastes of things that we want to see. And, you know, when you go to see a movie, there's a lot of different movies you might like to see, you know. So I think I'm looking forward to more types of games out there and just new games. Even if it's a game we've seen before, I just would love to see another new game for the Pac-Man, for the CoCo. So like Pac-Man's a perfect example. You know, we're porting the arcade Pac-Man. We've seen Pac-Man. You know, this is a game we've seen, but now we're seeing it on the CoCo. Just like Donkey Kong. We've played Donkey Kong, but now that we can play the real Donkey Kong on our CoCo, it's just kind of cool. So whatever new
and the real
thing,
Space Invaders too.
Yeah, the real Space Invaders being ported, Knight's Lore. So whatever comes our way and comes to the way of the CoCo, me being a fan of the CoCo, I'm ready to consume it. I want to gobble it up, you know. And hopefully there's plenty of other people out there who want to do that as well to help. Like I said, nobody's going to get rich, but at least help compensate the people who've invested the time and the energy to create these things for us. I think Bruce said he had to drop off too. Thanks for being here, Bruce and Jacob. Yeah, but this is a very rich topic that we've got plenty more to mine from in the future, I think.
Yeah, definitely does.
Yeah,
and there's all kinds of sub themes and sub genres and stuff we can go through. We can pick like what's the top 4K games and what's the top.
What's your favorite? What's your favorite text adventure versus graphic adventure? You know, then you could go on and on. But yeah, we'll call it a show for tonight. I want to thank everybody for being here. We didn't get to any hardware discussions at all, and that's just means we've got a whole nother topic to talk about next week, right? So that's good. Sometimes it's good when we don't get to something because that gives us something else to talk about.
I don't think we'll run short of topics.
Yeah, great. Well,
if it's CoCo, there's always topics.
We're always topics, yeah. So for those of us who are left now, Mark Overholzer and Curtis and David and John Strong and Grant and Bruce, who I think is still here, and everybody who was here before, from John Linville to Nick Morentis to Rick Norvell and Fedor and Richard Lorbieski and everybody else. I can't remember everybody who was here, but we had a lot of people here in Skype, and we had a lot of people watching us in chat. James Ross, always at the last minute. I've been listening to the conversation since 45 minutes into the stream. Enjoyed it later all. Thank you, James. We're very happy to have you listening. And if you ever want to call in sometimes and be a part of the conversation on Skype, you're always welcome as well. Always love to hear from fans of the CoCo. Yeah, so it's still on my list to put together a video compilation of some of the top 10 games, and the only way to make it fair is you let people vote like we did before. So based on the feedback you get from Facebook and things like that, what games rise to the top? Very easily Donkey King needs to be there. The Dungeons of Daggereth, something like Zaxxon definitely needs to be in that list of early, before CoCo 3. These are some of the standout games that are just in my memory. Another like the F-18 game, That's an amazing piece of software for what it did with all the scrolling and everything else, and the fact that it also took advantage of some of the speech sound. Very large scale game with a lot of detail and a lot of depth to it. Pretty cool. There's just so many. It's like, how do you choose?
P51.
Mustang P51. Yeah,
it's all mixed head-to-head.
And that's a multiplayer one too. That was a good one.
Even over a modem.
Yep. You could play it over a modem. It was very interesting.
Yeah. So
actually, Steve, on the line of the top games too, it might be interesting to go through, like Computer Shack / Mictron used to publish a top 10 list every month in Rainbow. Now, obviously, they were a bit biased to their own stuff, but they did include third-party stuff, and it would be kind of interesting maybe to compare what the lists were back in 83, 84.
We got to find
see
those,
how we thought about them at the time.
Yeah, that would be kind of cool. And just pull up that list and just talk about that list.
It'd save us a hell of a lot of time and effort. So.
Yeah, that's a nice little reaction video right there. Like, what were they smoking? Yeah, that's it. No shortage of great ideas. That's good. All right, well, we're going to wrap up this week's CoCo Talk. This is CoCo Talk number 10. This is technically now the 11th week we've done this. One of the weeks was CoCo Fest, so 11 weeks, and we're not running out of things to talk about, and we're not running out of tens of 11s of people to tune in and listen to us talk about this crap. So
we should mention two other things just briefly before we end the show. One, you put up a new video today for Blockhead, I believe it was.
Blockhead, yes, my Blockhead redo video where I actually made it through the 4th level. Yeah.
And then the other one is that the 8-Bit guy, a YouTuber, he did a restoration of a CoCo, we should mention.
Yeah.
Very interesting video.
Yeah. What did I miss on that? I didn't catch all the topics or comments on feedback, but I saw somebody, maybe it was Rich Lorbieski saying something like, well, I wasn't meaning to insult the guy, but he said something. I don't even know what I missed on that, but that was an interesting video where he took it apart and cleaned it and repainted it and all that kind of stuff and went through looking at all the hardware mods with the LED and everything else. Very cool video. It's something
and he's going to be doing more on the CoCo, which is really nice too. So.
Yeah. And it's I can't say that I don't want to use the word jealous, but maybe envious is a better word. But he is at that point in his career where he's got enough people who like what he does, and the quality of what he does is great too. But he posted a video, and the number of people who shared that video, there was easily 3 or 4 people just in our group that shared that video right away. I think John Linville was one of the first ones, but everybody's sharing that video. I would love to reach that level sometime where I put something up on YouTube and people are just sharing it across the interwebs, So, I mean, I'm not on that level of quality of what I'm doing or just audience and stuff, but that says something about when you have arrived, when you've got a following and you have a quality product you produce and people are wanting to share it and watch it and stuff like that. So I definitely commend everything he's done with his projects, and I hope to reach close to that level one of these days, So it was a very cool project, and that's the kind of stuff that we will talk about in future CoCo Talks too. We will not only get into hardware discussions, but even video hardware demonstrations of possibly changing out ROM chips and doing. I don't know that I'm ever going to do any soldering myself, but if somebody wants to do a screen share like what Mark was doing before. Mark was showing some of the soldering he was doing. I would love to watch somebody else solder. I don't know how to do it, but I'm interested in seeing it. So. We've got enough of us here. If anybody wants to point their camera at something they're working on, I would love to see it, and I think other people will too. So, not only hardware discussions, but maybe actual hardware demonstrations and explanations. I would look forward to doing in the future as well.
I won't be demonstrating soldering my hair, but did it once. That was enough.
All right. Well. Mark and Curtis.
I'm trying to figure out how you actually accomplished that, but
yeah. Mark, Curtis, David, John, Grant, and Bruce, thank you all for being here. Thank you everybody who watched, and we will see you next week on CoCo Talk. Hopefully back at our normally scheduled time of 2 p.m. But you never know. You just never know. All right, we are gonna say bye-bye. Thank you everybody.
Later all.
We'll see you next week. Leave
Later,
a comment.
Everyone.
Leave a comment below in this video when you see it in replay and tell us what your favorite color computer game is, and we will try to put that in our list for our top 10s as we work on them. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Take care.